Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's sister-in-law confesses that she's in love with him. Would I be the jerk if I don't tell my wife her sister confessed her love to me? My wife, 27 female, and I, 32 male, have been married for a few years now. She has an older sister who we'll call Annie, who's 34. Annie has been staying with us for about 4 months after her divorce. From what my wife told me, her ex-husband mistreated her and was a bad person. Because of what Annie went through, my wife and I have been trying to be supportive. We gave her space, didn't ask too many questions, and we let her stay with us while she figured everything out. My wife and I are usually very affectionate with each other. We joke around, hug, sit close, things like that. But after Annie moved in, my wife asked me to tone it down a little so that her sister wouldn't feel awkward or uncomfortable. I agreed because I understood why she asked, even though sometimes I forget out of habit. And then I feel bad when I notice that Annie was there. Last Sunday, my wife went out for dinner with her friends. She told me she had invited Annie, but Annie declined. My wife just wanted to let me know that Annie would be home alone when I got back from work. When I got home, the living room was dark and Annie was sitting there drinking. I turned on the lights and saw that she didn't look great. She seemed upset and not fully present. I asked her if she was okay, but she didn't answer. I walked a little closer and I asked her again. That's when she looked at me and said, "I love you." I was confused and honestly caught off guard. Then she kept talking. She said she hated that my wife got the perfect guy while she ended up with a loser. She said things like she was a better fit for me than my wife. Some of it was hard to understand because she was drunk. I told her very clearly to never say anything like that again. I told her if she did, I would ask her to leave immediately. She started crying. I helped her get to her room, cleaned up the mess in the living room, and then I left the house. I didn't come back until my wife texted me that she was home. Since then, Annie has been acting like nothing happened, but I feel like she's watching me more than before. Maybe I'm imagining it, but it's really uncomfortable. I haven't told my wife yet. I know it would devastate her. She loves her sister, and I don't know how she would react. My instinct was to ask Annie to move out as soon as possible and pretend this never happened. It's just that I've never lied to my wife or kept something like this from her before. Keeping it secret just doesn't feel right. At the same time, I just want to do what's best for my wife and protect her from unnecessary pain. I don't care about Annie's feelings at all at this point, but I care deeply about my wife's. So Reddit, would I be the jerk? You absolutely need to tell your wife. If you don't, you're putting yourself at serious risk. What happens if Annie tells her first and twists the story to make it sound like you came on to her? Even if your intentions were 100% clean, keeping this from your wife could destroy your marriage. Honesty protects both of you here. You would be the jerk if you stayed silent. Tell your wife. Also, never be alone with Annie again, ever. Not even just for a minute. Always make sure someone else is around. You have no idea what she might say if it ever becomes her word against yours. You need to protect yourself and your marriage. Your wife deserves to know what's going on, especially in her own home. Update 2 days later. I told my wife. She believed me. She confronted her sister, and her sister lied. My wife kicked her out. We're okay, and we're looking into couples counseling just to be safe. I talked to my wife the same day I made the post here. After work, I picked her up and I took her to a nice restaurant near our house. We ate, talked, and relaxed a bit. When the moment felt right, I told her I need to talk to her about something serious. I explained that I wasn't trying to hide anything, but that I had been shocked and I didn't know how to react at first. Then I told her exactly what happened while she was out with her friends. I told her Annie was drinking, what she said to me, and how I shut it down immediately. I told her the only reason I hesitated to tell her was because I hoped Annie was just drunk and bitter, and I didn't want to hurt her. Then I realized it wasn't fair to keep her in the dark. My wife was upset, understandably. She asked me if Annie had ever said anything like that before, or if I'd ever been alone with her. I reassured her this was the first and the only time, and that I'd never had inappropriate thoughts about her sister. Eventually, she told me she trusted me. She was still clearly shaken, but she believed me. She said she wanted to talk to Annie alone and asked me to stay with my parents for the night. I agreed. She didn't want to kick her sister out immediately, so she booked an Airbnb for a week. A few hours later, my wife called me and asked me to come home. When I got there, Annie was gone. My wife was sitting on the couch with red, poofy eyes. I hugged her and we went to bed. I just held her while she cried a little and then we fell asleep. The next morning, my wife told me what had happened. Annie tried to lie. She told my wife that I was the one who flirted with her and asked her to sleep with me. My wife told her she already knew the truth and that lying would only make things worse. That's when Annie broke down and admitted everything. She said it wasn't fair that my wife got a good life and a good husband when she didn't. She accused my wife of copying her and being jealous of her. My wife told her she was never jealous. She admired her sister once, but not anymore. Then she asked Annie to leave. The Airbnb was already booked, and after that week, Annie would be on her own. My wife blocked her sister everywhere, and we haven't heard from her since. My wife told me that we're okay, but still suggested couples counseling just in case. I agreed. If anything, this made me realize how important communication is. We're decorating for the holidays now, a little late, but together. I'm grateful I listened and I told my wife. Keeping quiet could have cost me my marriage. This is a really good outcome. You handled this the right way, even though it was uncomfortable. Your wife trusting you and standing up for your marriage says a lot about the both of you. Counseling doesn't mean something is wrong. It means you care enough to make sure things stay strong. I'm glad you told her. The moment your sister-in-law tried to flip the story is exactly why honesty was the only safe option. Whatever she's dealing with emotionally doesn't excuse trying to destroy your marriage. Protect yourselves and don't let her back into your lives. You and your wife did everything right. Guy keeps quiet to protect his wife, almost torpedoes his own marriage. Yeah, turns out silence isn't noble when someone else is already rehearsing lies. The moment the sister tried to flip the story, the lesson wrote itself. Say it early and say it straight. Silence doesn't keep the peace. It just gives liars a head start. Am I the jerk for not attending my son's high school graduation because my ex-wife's affair partner is going to be there? My ex-wife, 40 female, and I, 42 male, have been divorced for 6 years now. We share a son who's now 18. The marriage ended because she had an emotional affair, and I still believe it was probably physical too. She's married to the affair partner now. He's very wealthy, very established, and my son gets along with him well. At the beginning, the divorce hit me hard. I felt like I was watching the bond between me and my son dissolve in slow motion. Before the split, he and I were extremely close. We did everything together. After the affair, though, things shifted fast. Her husband started doing things for my son that I simply couldn't match. Expensive gifts, trips abroad, vacations I couldn't even dream of planning. He even took my son to England to watch his favorite soccer team live. I was happy that my son was happy, but it also hurt. There was this strange mix of emotions every time my son told me about a new trip or a gift. I wanted him to enjoy life. At the same time, I wanted him to see how deeply his mom and her husband had damaged me. It stung watching him grow closer to the man who stepped into my family while my marriage was falling apart. After the divorce, I didn't date. The affair took the wind out of me. I poured my energy into work and fitness. Work paid off. I climbed the ladder, built a solid career, but eventually hit a wall. I felt myself burning out. My sister suggested I take a real break, a long one for once, maybe even travel. Around that same time, my son brought up his graduation ceremony. He was excited. He really wanted me there. Graduation meant a lot to him. I could hear it in his voice. But by then, my emotions were pretty numb. I asked if his mom and her husband would be attending. He said yes. He begged me to come. I told him I'd think about it. Truth is, I already knew I wasn't going if the man who helped break my marriage would be sitting a few rows away, smiling in family photos like he didn't help destroy the original family. I talked to my sister again. We looked at flights and booked our trip. I didn't tell my son about it until the last minute. His graduation was scheduled for Wednesday. My flight was Tuesday. On Monday, I called him and told him I wouldn't be attending because my sister and I were traveling abroad. He sounded shocked. Then he asked the question that I knew was coming. Why couldn't I book my flight after the ceremony? I told him the truth. I didn't want to attend because his mom's husband would be there, and I needed space from all of it. I told him not to call or message me while I was away. I wanted my break. So now I'm in Norway. It's cold, peaceful, and quiet. And honestly, I feel more mentally relaxed than I have in years. My son called and texted a few times, but I temporarily blocked him until I return. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. You don't need a committee to tell you that. You skipped one of the biggest days of your kid's life because you were uncomfortable, then you told him not to contact you and blocked him? That isn't how a father behaves. You're punishing your own son for something he didn't do. Your son asked for one thing, your presence. Instead, you chose a vacation. 6 years is a long time to still make every choice about your ex. You didn't just miss a ceremony. You showed your son exactly where he stands with you. And that kind of hurt lingers for years. The more you explain, the clearer the picture becomes. Your son bonded with his stepdad because the man showed up for him while you stayed stuck in the pain of the divorce. A relationship isn't a competition, and your kid shouldn't have to pick sides so you can feel validated. It reads like your ex's affair broke you, but instead of healing, you let the resentment spill into your parenting. He was 12 when all of this happened. 12. Expecting him to recognize the hurt they caused you is something an adult partner might do, not an adolescent trying to survive his parents' breakup. Skipping his graduation wasn't self-care, it was abandonment dressed up as boundaries. Update 1 day later. We made it to Sweden. I checked the comments, and it seems like the consensus is that I'm the bad guy here. I didn't expect the reaction to be this strong, but I'll try to explain why I made the choices I did. My son has had 6 years to recognize how his mom and her husband hurt me. 6 years to see the fallout of her affair. But instead, he grew closer to her new husband and calls him his second dad. He says he's lucky to have 2 dads in his life. It's obvious he feels deeply connected to the man. At this point, I don't fault him for it, but I can't pretend it doesn't affect me emotionally. He's 18 now. He's made his choices about who he feels close to, and I've made mine. I hope he had a great graduation. His mom and his second dad were there, so he had family around him. If he's upset that I missed it, I understand. If he doesn't want to talk to me anymore because of it, I won't chase him. If he reaches out one day and tries to talk, I'd be open to it. The door isn't locked. I just stepped away from it. For the first time in years, I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing rest and peace. I've spent 6 years grieving the damage done by the affair. 6 years watching my son bond with the man who helped break our home. It's time to stop doing that. To be blunt, I love my sister more than my son right now. She's the only constant who stood with me through everything. She's blood, and she's the one person who kept showing up for me without conditions. I'll always wish my son well. I'll always hope he lives a full and happy life. But I can't bring myself to be emotionally invested in what he chooses or how he feels about the people around him. Not right now. Maybe not for a long time. This is one of the most narcissistic things I've ever read. Your son is not supposed to referee the mess between you and his mom. He shouldn't be punished because you never healed. You keep saying he doesn't understand your hurt, but at no point did you ask how he felt about any of this. Kids aren't emotional support animals. Your son saw you disappear on the biggest day of his life, and you told him not to contact you. That's abandonment. When he eventually decides not to invite you to major life events, you'll only have your own choices to look back on. You're the jerk. I can see why your son bonded with his stepdad. The man shows up. Meanwhile, you spent 6 years making every single moment about your pain. Yes, the affair was awful. Nobody's excusing it. But your attitude explains a lot about why your marriage failed in the first place. You're still treating your ex and her husband like the center of your emotional universe, while your son barely shows up in your priorities. You keep saying you put your feelings first for once, but everything in your post shows you've been doing that the entire time. You mentioned focusing on your career and fitness, but not once did you talk about rebuilding anything with your kid. He had one milestone moment, and instead of showing up, you vanished to Norway and blocked him. You expected the internet to congratulate you for protecting your peace, but what you really did was confirm exactly why your son connected with someone who treated him with consistency. The hiring manager where I'm interviewing is someone I fired last year. I hired a woman last summer. She came in with strong references, a solid reputation, and experience from a company that had just gone through a merger. People who had worked with her said she was a fast learner and helped keep everything together through some messy transitions. On paper, she looked like an easy fit. When she started with us, I didn't feel like she was doing well. In my eyes, she wasn't picking things up fast enough. By the time she was halfway through her probationary period, I was getting frustrated often. I can admit that I have a temper, and she saw it more than once. A few weeks in, she asked for clarification on something simple, and I snapped at her. She backed off immediately. After that, she stopped asking many questions. She didn't even make it through the full 90 days. I fired her on her 89th day. During her exit interview, she told me she felt poorly trained and said she didn't come to me for help because she was scared of setting me off again. She said my temper made her afraid to ask for what she needed. She packed her things and left without another word. Later that same day, I found out through a mutual friend that her previous employer reached out to her the moment they heard she was available. They not only offered her job back, they gave her a raise, added responsibilities, and made it clear they wanted her back on their team despite having quit just days into her 2-week notice. I didn't think much more about it until recently. My company went under because of everything happening in the world, and I was laid off. I spent a few weeks searching, and eventually I got a call for an interview. The woman on the phone told me that even though their office was technically closed, the hiring manager would be meeting me there in person. She gave me a name. The moment I heard it, my stomach tightened. It was her. I didn't recognize the company name because they had changed it since she worked there, but the hiring manager was the same woman I had fired months earlier. Now I'm wondering whether I should even show up. She's seen me lose my temper. She's seen me at my worst. She told me directly that she didn't feel supported, and now she'd be the one sitting across from me in an interview. The company is hiring like crazy because demand went up. I need a job, but I also can't shake the feeling that walking into that office will be walking straight into a disaster. Should I even try? When someone's new, they need support, not a boss with a temper they'd have to tiptoe around. You firing her on the last day of probation is very telling of your character. And the fact that her old job rehired her with a raise says even more about where the real issue was, with you. Go to the interview. Maybe she'll see you've changed, maybe she won't. You'll walk in with a chance only if you leave the old attitude behind. Maybe this whole situation is meant to teach you something. You blew up at someone at work and didn't sincerely apologize for your actions. This is karma. People in lower positions deserve respect, and you never know when one of them might be above you one day. Treating someone poorly because you can get away with it comes back around eventually. You're lucky she's even willing to see you across a desk again. Update 2 days later. I got a lot of strong feedback after my original post, and I won't lie, some of it stung. Yet it was fair. People pointed out exactly what I had been avoiding. My temper wasn't a small thing. It shaped the whole situation. She didn't ask questions because I made the environment uncomfortable. She struggled because I didn't train her properly, then blamed her for not succeeding. I decided to go to the interview. I went to her office unsure of what to expect. The office was locked when I arrived, so I waited outside. I was standing there quietly rehearsing what I might say, still unsure if I should even be there. She came up behind me and said my name. She asked me if I was ready to interview, and I just said yes. We sat down in her office, and she pulled out her phone and started recording. She asked me if I minded being taped, and I said no. She started with basic interview questions, standard stuff. Then she asked me if there was anything I knew I needed to work on. I took a breath and I told her the truth. I said my temper had been an issue in the past. I told her I had a wake-up call recently and realized I had to change. I apologized for the lack of training she got from me and said I was glad to see that she had advanced in her career. Then she told me that one of the things she had learned was forgiveness. She had left the company she was at and rehired to because they had wronged her during the merger. When she was offered the position back, it was an apology, a raise, and now she's in a better position than when she left. She said sometimes an apology can start you down the path towards something better. She told me she was willing to hire me because she remembered that I was great at certain aspects of my old job. She also said clearly that if I lost my temper during the trial period, that would be it. No second chances on that front. I told her I understood, and then she asked if I could start Friday. I started training today. The first thing I realized was that she's fantastic at this job. She's organized, patient, good with clients, and she explains things in a way that make everything click. Watching her work showed me something I hadn't wanted to admit, that she would have succeeded easily under proper training. She wasn't the problem back then. I was. She deserved better, and now she's giving me better than what I gave her. I signed up for online anger management classes. I'm trying to do the work. She took a chance by offering me this job, and I want to prove that she didn't waste her time. Now this turned out surprisingly wholesome. It takes a lot of maturity to admit you were wrong, and even more to go into an interview with someone you had treated poorly and fired. I hope you really do follow through with anger management classes. Best of luck to you, OP. Imagine firing someone on day 89, then showing up at their office asking for a job. That's walking straight into a plot twist with your head held high. Just treat it like a reset button and show her who you are now, but not who you were then. Entitled couple makes airline staff cry. I was flying from Portugal to London and waiting at the gate at Lisbon Airport. The flight was completely full. One of those packed, short-haul flights where you already know overhead bin space is going to be an issue. A member of airline staff left the desk and began walking around the gates area, asking passengers to place their hand luggage into the hold. This wasn't unusual at all. It's standard practice on full flights and clearly signposted at the gate. Hand luggage is never guaranteed to stay with you, especially on busy routes. She approached an English couple sitting closest to the desk and asked to see their boarding passes. From how they dressed and spoke, they seemed quite wealthy, very posh West London types. The woman immediately became defensive and demanded to know why she needed to show her pass. The staff member calmly explained that the flight was very full and that passengers traveling economy would need to check their hand luggage so boarding could run smoothly. The woman reacted instantly. "Why should I have to do that? Are you picking on me?" The staff member repeated that this would apply to all economy passengers. She was simply starting with the people closest to the desk so she could work efficiently and avoid delays later. That explanation didn't satisfy the woman at all. She insisted she was being singled out even though no one else had been asked yet. The staff member patiently explained again that she had only started with them because they were sitting right there, and someone had to be first. That's when the husband joined in. Both of them became increasingly hostile, raising their voices and demanding explanations they had already been given. The staff member's face went red as she tried to keep her composure. She kept repeating that she wasn't targeting them and that she was simply doing her job. Eventually, the couple's aggression wore her down. She stopped approaching other passengers entirely and returned to her desk, visibly shaken. She started crying. Someone sitting nearby quietly tried to reason with the woman, explaining that the staff member hadn't been picking on her and that everyone would have been asked to check their bag anyway. The woman doubled down, repeating that it was unfair because she had been asked first and that she wouldn't accept being treated that way. It became clear that her definition of unfair was simply being inconvenienced at all. When boarding finally began, I watched the couple closely. They were about to face the same staff member they had reduced to tears. Instead, they let the person behind them step forward, then smoothly slid into the premium boarding line. They boarded through a different staff member and kept their suitcase, since premium passengers are allowed to. On the other side of the gate, they stood smiling at each other, clearly pleased with themselves, like they had pulled off something clever. Trying to be generous, I told myself maybe they had a tight connection in London and didn't want to risk waiting for checked bags. Even so, that wouldn't excuse how they treated her. When we landed in London, I headed to the baggage carousel to collect my suitcase. And there they were, the same couple standing at the carousel like everyone else. Hand luggage still with them, waiting for their checked bags. They had made a staff member cry, slowed down the process for everyone, and gained absolutely nothing. No time saved, no special outcome, nothing at all. Just the brief satisfaction of believing that the rules didn't apply to them. This is exactly when airline staff should be able to deny boarding. If someone is already kicking up a fuss over something simple and standard before they're even on the plane, they're showing you who they're going to be at 30,000 feet. Either they wind their neck in and follow the rules, or they don't fly. Simple choice. I'd also make them go to the back of the line and board last. If they don't believe they were first when asked, then they can watch everyone else go first instead. A little public consequence would probably stop this behavior real quick. People act like this because it works. Former flight attendant here, and yes, staff absolutely can deny boarding for behavior like this. Refusing to comply with luggage rules and being openly hostile or disruptive is enough. It's written into the contract of the carriage. People just don't like hearing that. The frustrating part is that many staff don't feel supported enough by management to actually use these powers, especially newer employees. And that's a shame, because behavior like this only escalates when it's rewarded. If someone is already this aggressive at the gate, I wouldn't trust them to stay calm in an emergency either. Honestly, confronting them wouldn't have done anything. People like this behave the way they do because it gets results. It's basically a toddler tantrum in adult form. They weren't upset about fairness, they were upset about being inconvenienced first. The sad part is that the staff member clearly had the authority to push back, but likely didn't feel safe or backed enough to use it. That's on management culture, not her. Still, there's something quietly satisfying about the fact that after all that drama, they ended up standing at baggage claim like everyone else. Karma keeps excellent receipts. Funny how unfair always seems to mean inconvenient for me. They treated basic procedure like a personal attack. Made a staff member cry just to feel important for 5 minutes, and still ended up waiting at baggage claim like everyone else. I won 2 tickets to the Super Bowl. My girlfriend is upset that I'm taking my brother instead of her. A couple of days ago, I won a trivia contest that gave me an all-expense-paid trip for 2 to the Super Bowl. As you can imagine, I was excited, but it's gotten to the point where I wish there was a way I could sell the package and just forget about it. My brother and I were together and decided to try for tickets from this local contest. I was the official contestant, but I actually ended up getting the answer I needed from my brother. From that point, I never even thought about who to take. Since it was something we both did, and he ended up actually giving me the answer, of course he was gonna go. I told my girlfriend that I had won the tickets and I was excited to go with my brother. She then got very upset that I'm not taking her. For the record, she's a football fan, so it's clear she would love to go. But my brother gave me the answer. How could he not go? My brother said he would understand if I take her and sees the problem that this is causing for me, and he offered to give her his ticket. I didn't even tell her that he made the offer because I don't think that's the point. I think she's being selfish and putting a damper on the entire experience. I told her all of this, but she's not backing down and said that if you win a trip for 2, it should automatically go to your significant other. Maybe that's true if it were a romantic getaway or a cruise, but this is something my brother and I did together, and he's the reason I won. I think she's being selfish, and she thinks that I'm being inconsiderate of her. I don't know who's right and what to do. I wish I never won these tickets because no matter what happens, the entire experience has been marred. I thought of giving the tickets to my brother and his wife and just forgetting about the whole thing, but because I won the tickets under my name, it has to be me. How should I handle this? Update. It's been a very few stressful days. I'm just glad that there seems to be a resolution. I had tried talking to my girlfriend and she was still upset. I approached the conversation as many people had said, keeping an understanding that she was more disappointed than controlling and would come around. Unfortunately, she was being unreasonable. She said I could go, but that doing so would hurt her a great deal and that she would need some time to reevaluate things. I should have just ended things with her there, but I was so sick of these tickets by that point that I didn't even have the heart to go, even if I did decide to end things with her. As suggested by some of the comments, I called up the radio station and asked if it was at all possible to transfer the tickets to my brother so he could go with his wife. They were totally understanding and awesome about it and said they were sorry I couldn't go, but they were glad to put the tickets in my brother's name for me. I was just glad to have it behind me at that point. I told my girlfriend what I did and that I was staying here, and she said that I was being dramatic and immature. She said that I transferred the tickets to my brother just so I could win the argument and look like a martyr. It was at this point that I reached my breaking point. I calmly told her that this relationship was over. I wasn't even mad at this point, just confused that a person I thought I knew could act this way. She said she was going to break up with me because of the way I handled this anyway, so breaking up with her didn't matter. My brother immediately told me I dodged a bullet and is glad that she was out of everyone's lives. My brother's wife was totally cool about me using her ticket and didn't even question it after I'm technically taking back my gift from her. They insisted that I go with my brother, and it was their idea. So now I'm the guest of the original tickets that I won. Happy to say I arrived in San Francisco a few days ago, and I'm having the time of my life. My girlfriend didn't unfollow me on social media, and I'm posting as many pictures as I possibly can. Thanks, everyone. My daughter is pregnant again, and I'm kicking her out. I'm 49, female. My daughter, Josie, who's 19, had her first baby when she was 15. My husband and I were devastated at first because we knew this was going to be a very difficult path for our daughter. We did all we could to give her a proper education, but it wasn't enough, and we couldn't turn back time, so all we could do was support her in what she wanted to do. My husband and I helped Josie take care of our grandson and encouraged her to finish high school. She never did because she said that her priority was being a mother and she didn't have time to invest into finishing high school. We told her she would either go to school or get a job, but we weren't going to give her the option of doing neither for more than a year after she gave birth, so she got a part-time job at a hair salon. The father of my grandson, who was her age, would give her about $100 a month for baby-related stuff and would come over every couple of months to see his son. But that was all he did, even though he lived in the same city as us. A few days ago, Josie broke the news to us that she's pregnant again. The father is the same guy who got her pregnant the first time. My husband and I were ticked. How can she get pregnant by that guy for the second time when he was very obviously not consistent or helpful with the first baby? And with Josie living with us rent-free and us having to take care of my grandson for her so she can work, go out, etc., this does not seem fair at all that she can add another baby into this mess. After a few days of thinking about it and discussing it with my husband, we decided to tell Josie to move in with the father of her kids and raise the kids together. She said they're not in a relationship, so they can't live together, and they wouldn't be able to afford it anyway. I told her she needs to figure something out because we, my husband and I, are not willing to raise another baby for her. She said, "You're never satisfied with anything I do. You told me to get a job, so I did, and now you're complaining that you had to raise the baby. You wouldn't have had to if I didn't have to work. I can't do both things at once, and I definitely can't raise 2 kids on my own and work. What 19-year-old can do that?" I replied, "We tried to teach you how to be responsible after your first baby, and we did all we could to be there for you. You clearly haven't learned a thing, and it's not our job to keep picking up after you. So before your baby arrives, discuss living arrangements with the father and figure something out." She's been crying and not talking to us ever since. She's called both sets of grandparents to speak to my husband and I to change our minds so we can help her raise her babies. My husband's parents think that we're being very harsh and punishing her for something that's already happened, which isn't helpful. They offered to take Josie and our grandson in, but Josie doesn't want to take her kids so far away from their dad. My in-laws are saying we'll regret abandoning our daughter and that we should be showing her a better example of unconditional love. I just don't know what more we could do without sacrificing our own selves. Am I the jerk? Not gonna say you're the jerk, but terrible life situations for your daughter and grandkids can happen through this. She may feel alone and lost and never feel family will be there for her again. I was a teen mom, and I was just too young and naive to understand my parents at that time. They were always there for me, and thank goodness, because I finally matured when I was like 25 and turned my life around. Some people are late bloomers. It's a problem with this generation. They want all the freedoms and rights of an adult, but none of the responsibility. Well, who made this generation? What does that have to do with taking responsibility for one's own life and decisions? Should every generation blame the one before it for their inadequacies? Here's a novel idea. As an individual, take the wheel. Be the master of your own destiny. You're not the jerk, but you're definitely a lacking parent. I don't know a single person who gave birth that young that had good parents. You're the jerk. Here's why. You're being crappy to your kid because of systems and norms that are about 60 years old. You are being given something my parents are denied, seeing your grandkids grow up. You can make the choice to support your kid that you raised or kick her and her kids out. You are crappy people. And this is why I raised my kids in a Christian household. Hate me all you want. My daughters weren't the ones having babies when they were in middle school. Worldly people will always suffer worldly problems. Holier than thou? Sure, call it that if you want. I call it living the lives that we have chosen and that we rightfully deserve. Your daughter is a narcissist. The father of these kids is one too. They can't even afford to live together with no kids. Why would they have a second kid or a first one? Who cares about your daughter at this point? These people are everywhere these days. It's the kids who are getting burnt by all of this. I can't stand people like your daughter and the father of her kids. The more I read these stories, the more anger I have for these people who keep bringing kids into this world like it's some little ego game. This ticks me off. What 19-year-old can raise 2 kids on her own while working? Then why are you having a kid then? Am I the jerk for telling my husband that he works for himself, not for us? My husband and I have known each other for 6 years and have been married for almost 3 years now. We have a 1-year-old and we're expecting another baby. Our marriage has been full of emotional highs. We love each other and let the other know regularly. My husband has a 9-to-5 job, after which he is also a tutor. He had started this back when we were in college and it was never an issue. He always had enough time. Even in the years leading up to the marriage and the first year of our marriage, this was never a big issue. However, in the last year or so, it's become a big issue and it's getting worse. He keeps on adding more classes to his schedule. Until last month, we had a red line that no classes on Sunday. He would devote that entire time to us. But last month, he even added a class on Sunday on the excuse that exams are starting. It started to feel like me and my son weren't a priority to him anymore. Some days he comes home at 11. On other days, he's doing it online, but that's not much better because he still can't give us any time. Last Sunday, I finally spoke out and told him he was neglecting his family. He was offended and told me that he doesn't enjoy having to work so hard, but he's doing it for our family. This is where I told him that no, I think he does enjoy it. It gives him an excuse to not spend time with us and that he was doing this for himself, not for us. As things currently stand, our collective income is more than enough. There really was no need for him to add more classes on top of his existing ones. He's doing it for himself at this point. He's literally busy Monday through Saturday, and now he's trying to cross the red line we established for Sunday. We've been on bad terms since this fight. He keeps saying he can't believe that I said he works for himself and not for us. Am I the jerk here? Update. Our conversation was a bit of a train wreck. I brought up the fact that our income far exceeds our current and projected expenses, that me and our son were missing him and needed him to spend more time with us, and I made sure to stress that I appreciated all that he did. It just seemed like we were on completely different wavelengths. He said he kept on taking more lessons and students because it wanted us to have a good standard of living, have better vacations, better schools, a second house. I was dumbfounded. I never knew he felt this way. I stressed our current standard of living was great. We make enough money, and that if he thinks that way, there's no end in sight. What if he decided we should also have a third house or something? Right now, I needed him with me. At this point, I kind of lost control and started crying. I didn't mean to. It wasn't something I wanted to do to pressure him or anything. Just the fact that we were at an impasse was wrecking me. I told him I'd been feeling unhappy, that I kept compromising, and he reneged on it. After some more crying and consoling, my husband agreed that Sunday should have remained off limits. He gently asked me to give him a pass for one more Sunday because his students' exams end next week, and he would make Sunday untouchable the following semester onwards. He also promised to try to resize his classes in order to be able to come back home for dinner, even if it's late dinner. He asked for time to do all of this. I've given it to him, and I know he loves us enough to do what he's promised. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, I doubt it, but good luck. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like he's had a real breakthrough, just promises to try and no real apology. I'm sorry, but that's not good enough. He'll try to be home for a late dinner? When you have a toddler and you're currently expecting? So he'll only be around 1 day a week realistically since your toddler will be in bed and you'll have a newborn. Then do you get time for yourself? When do you get help or from whom during the week when he doesn't get home until late? You are essentially a single parent even with these concessions. I hope things work out for you. Best of luck. Yeah, he's stringing you along. He'll take a few Sundays off to appease you and then he's going to start working them again. He has no real intention of stopping. Better to have a dude who hustles and makes bank than to be with a deadbeat. I've had 2 girlfriends in the past complain that I worked too much. Now they are both single moms who chose to have babies with deadbeats. Meanwhile, I'm about to retire at 35. When you complain about your husband's salary being more than what you actually need, you are the problem. Girl, stand up. This man just walks all over you, and now you give him a free pass because he can apparently make late dinners. Man, if you don't find some self-respect and really open your eyes that you are pretty much a single parent with an absent husband, this will just be a continuous cycle. Don't see this resolving since you two aren't even on the same page. He can work all the hours and make all the money he wants, and he can write you a big fat child support check so you can hire the people he fails to provide. You'll probably be happier without an absent spouse. Regular visitation with dad would also mean mom gets an occasional day off. I'm guessing you don't now since he's never even home. Heck, I'd leave for that last bit alone. A day off on which he's forced to parent his kids. My postpartum wife wants to leave our baby to go on a vacation to Europe for a month, and I don't agree with her. My wife, 30 female, and I, 32 male, have been together for 4 years, and we currently have a 16-month-old daughter. We both split work 50-50, and despite this, I acknowledge how it is more physically challenging for her with the postpartum phase and constant, regressive now, natural feeding. I'm also very pro-therapy, so regardless of any evaluations, I encouraged her to attend a few sessions, and she and her therapist both agree that she does not have PPD. I'm letting everyone know this because I really want to be able to find a way to talk sense into her without putting all of it on depression. Anyway, my wife and I have a huge fight over something. She says that she's tired from feeling like a mom and wants to take a vacation for 4 weeks with her friend who's based in Europe. Her reasoning for going for 4 weeks is that she gets to earn it after childbirth and 1.5 years of being a mom. She also says she has her own savings and how she always dreamt of exploring Europe. So this is her chance, and she wants her identity back. I disagreed with her and told her that priorities are bound to change, and she can't expect to have a single life back. I would happily step up and take on her share of childcare if she wanted to do a weekend trip or a spa day and would fully support that. Apparently, that's not enough for her. I told her if she wants to really do something about her savings, it would be great if we could do something, maybe as a couple or a family together, because I also deserve a break as much as she does. I told her how it's selfish she's choosing to spend her savings entirely on herself when I nearly exhausted all of my personal savings on a large family expense. I told her I can't fathom the idea of a mom wanting to be away from her toddler for nearly a month and almost shamed her for it. May make me a jerk, but my emotions were high and I was angry. And it was making things difficult for me because I realistically would have to exhaust my paid time off and be both mom and dad to our baby. I told her I cannot stay in a relationship with someone who can't compromise with me on this. She started crying and told me she wants to feel like herself again, and I told her she definitely can do something this weekend as well, but her propositions are highly unrealistic. It seems that she does not want to accept things as they are. I suggested maybe she could get therapy and got told I won't accept the unacceptable and how I was condescending her into therapy. Can someone please share what I should say to her? Just to clarify my stance on trips, I fully support it if she wants to take a trip over the weekend with her sisters or friends. Spouses and parents should be able to do that. Personally for me, a good cutoff would be 4 to 5 days. Everyone is entitled to their own preference, and I sure know where my wife and I stood when we got married. I do not think it is appropriate for a married person, and now a parent, to leave the household to be away from your family for more than that time. I thought my wife agreed with me because she held the same views as well. Update. When I made this post, I had already began planning how I would like to approach the situation. I thought I might be crazy or being an awful partner to her by disagreeing with her choice. Thank you to everyone who reassured me that her expectations did sound unrealistic. I set my wife down and told her that I again do not feel comfortable with her being in a different continent for such a long period of time. I feel this would not be good for our daughter and our marriage. I do not make decisions for her, but I would also take steps to ensure that there are going to be consequences if she doesn't take my opinion into consideration. After all, this decision to spend so much money and be away from the household, me stepping up entirely and exhausting my pay time off, needs 2 yeses. If she chooses to go, she may come home to a daughter, but not a welcoming husband. That it will permanently change our relationship, and I might not be interested in continuing a relationship with someone who can so easily abandon her family. And for that wound, she would be the only one responsible. Before anyone scolds me again for being harsh, let me tell you, I tried my best to be empathetic to her situation and offered compromises, but she just wouldn't listen, even rejected therapy many times. At this point, she was growing very anxious to the point she started crying. I calmed her down and told her that we need to fix whatever issues we have, and it is glaringly obvious she needs a break too. For that, first, she would have to agree to travel domestically and compromise on traveling for no more than 12 to 14 days, with the condition that I get to have a similar break too at a later time, and I won't use my own funds. I hadn't mentioned what purchases I made with my savings in my original post, but it was a van for our family. Lastly, she needs to get into therapy for a more comprehensive evaluation for PPD, because I do not feel comfortable with her mental state right now, whatever it may be. She wasn't just fantasizing about the Europe trip, but had actually began drawing up plans that time. I let her know that this has dented my trust in her as a parent and a partner, and she would need to introspect and make improvements accordingly. If I still feel weird about this, we may need couples counseling too to reestablish the trust. After all, asking me to sacrifice my paid time off, step up for a month, and have funds that family has the first right over was a big ask. I still don't feel comfortable with how easily she was willing to give up on her duties, and I need time to process things myself. Yeah, OP's wife was one step away from going into crazy banana pants mode. Leaving your baby behind for a month? She's either going to break down crying and fly back home in 3 days, or she's never coming back. There's no other outcome. So, it's obviously a cry for help from the wife, and she's obviously been stewing on it for a long time, and it's hitting her limit. But I need to point out that parents, moms, and dads have to leave their kids all the time for work for extended amounts of time, and it's not the end of the world. Am I the jerk for suing to stop my child support and to get it back? I didn't know my son was not actually mine until he was about 5 years old and had a medical issue. The results of tests made me suspicious, so I had a DNA test done, which was when I found out he wasn't mine. I divorced my ex, but because we were married when he was born, and the time I had to challenge the paternity test had passed, I was on the hook for child support. I was a broken man afterwards and withdrew from all of my friends and family. After a couple of years, I started meeting people again and eventually found out the ex was in a relationship with the affair partner and living with him. This broke me again, so I went back to my isolation. Another year passed and I slowly came back out. It took some time before I could talk about my past, but when I was able to, my brothers lit a fire under me. I found out through friends that the ex moved in with the father of the boy almost immediately after our divorce was finalized and that they've been together ever since. My brothers pushed me to talk to their attorney friend, which I eventually did. He's a business attorney, but listened to my history, then gave me his opinion. He then recommended me to his friend in a family law firm. In short, I paid almost 4 years of child support, and according to my attorney, I have a good chance of stopping the child support payments and recovering at least some or possibly almost all of it, because there is social media evidence that the boy was living with his biological father during that time. The attorney said that we can nail down the exact date they lived together during discovery, then we'll have a better picture of how much we can ask for. After talking with my family, I decided to file a lawsuit to stop and recover my child support payments. I got immediate flack from my friends, ex, and her family. I don't care what the ex and her family have to say, but my friends who I've known since childhood, they know my ex through me, are saying that they support me in stopping the payments, but I'm going too far in trying to get back almost $50,000. They said it was spent on the boy, and I should view it as a donation to a good cause. I know I'm angry and bitter, but am I wrong? Not the jerk. He's not your biological kid, and therefore not your responsibility. What your ex did to you was callous and indefensible. I'm actually shocked your friends can't see that you deserve to get your money back, because you got completely taken advantage of. Moving forward, you need to block out what they're saying and surround yourself with a good support system as you go through the process of getting your money back. Your ex messed up and has to live with the consequences of her actions. In this case, it means paying back money that she had no right to. My boyfriend of 2 years told me he would always want a paternity test because, as a man, you can never know. My boyfriend and I were making dinner and chatting about our days, and I told him about some drama in my life and how one of my coworkers is questioning the paternity of his adult daughter. That's when my boyfriend told me that no matter the scenario, he would always want a paternity test for any kids he has. He said we could be locked away in an isolated cabin for the entirety of a pregnancy and he would still want a test, just to be sure. He said that he would do all the legwork of scheduling the test, showing up to it, and paying for it. His reasoning for wanting this is that, as a man, you can never truly 100% know if a kid is yours without the test, so he would want one just in case. He also mentioned hearing too many horror stories about men raising kids that weren't theirs. He wanted to let me know all of this now, before we were thinking about having kids, because asking for one after I was pregnant or while we were trying would be offensive. In the moment, I felt kind of disgusted at the request, but thought bringing it up now was a lot better than bringing it up later. I also am a woman, so I will know 100% that any kids I have will be mine. Therefore, I hid my disgust and told him that it would be fine. But the more I thought about it, the more I hated it. Asking for a paternity test in pretty much any scenario is an accusation of cheating. It's saying you don't trust your partner enough to not cheat, and you don't trust your partner enough not to trick you into raising a kid that's not yours. Bringing it up before thinking about having kids is better than bringing it up afterwards, but still seems like a red flag. Try as I might, I can't stop myself from feeling hurt by this. I have no intention of ever cheating on my boyfriend, so I can only really see it as an inability to trust. So now I'm here asking for perspective. Is this a reasonable request from him? Is the perspective of this situation from a man's view something I just can't see? Any thoughts would be appreciated. He's trash, and you need to leave him. This man is openly telling you that he will never trust you. Full stop. Any man who doesn't trust you is not worth being with. Oh, but my horror stories. Here's an idea. Maybe stop listening to Joe Rogan and that other bald guy who are trying to convince you that you're some sort of a victim on their stupid podcasts. I have an open relationship with my hubby, so even if our kids weren't biologically his, he wouldn't have a problem with it. But that's because he's secure with who he is and doesn't try to control me with outdated beliefs. But as for this insecure man-child that you're with, he really deserves to be an ex, and I hope you leave him. Am I the jerk for telling my in-laws that if they want a grandchild that bad, they should give my wife her inheritance now? Basically, my in-laws want their only child, my wife Diana, to start pumping out grandkids. Diana is 28 and just finishing her PhD. Then she wants to get established in a career before we start a family. My in-laws know how much money I make, and they know we could live comfortably off my earnings. That isn't what Diana wants. She's worked her tail off to get to where she is, and she wants to reap the rewards of her hard work. She also says that once she's working, then I can cut back on my hours as a welder and relax a little. I've been working since I was 15, so literally half my life. I make a very good living in return for a lot of fairly hard hours. I've supported Diana in her education. She will graduate without student loans. We have a house. She has a good car. We have a good life. We want a few more years alone before we start our family. Over Christmas, the in-laws just wouldn't drop it. I finally snapped. I said that if they wanted grandkids, then they could reimburse us for her education. They could further pay her the salary that she would be giving up. When she returned to work, they could pay her the difference between what she could be earning and her entry-level position. They could pay for a nanny so my wife could work. Or they could back off and wait for us to be ready. They said that they really couldn't afford all of that. I asked them how they expected us to afford it. I said that if it was really what they wanted, they could just give her the inheritance that would be coming her way now instead of later. They got all offended and said that it's not hers until they don't need it anymore. Diana asked me to drop it. She's tried dozens of times to explain to her parents why we're waiting. They just ignore her. They ignore what we want for our lives. They have been very cold since Christmas. They seem to think I was a rude jerk for pointing out the costs of what they're asking for. A lot of her family agree with them that I went too far in asking them to pay if they want a grandkid now instead of later. Not the jerk. They have to be reminded in very strong terms that it's literally none of their business. They have absolutely no say whatsoever in when you both choose to have kids. Stop being nice about it. They need to be put in their proper place. If they want a new baby around, their option is to adopt. That's where they have a say. Otherwise, they need to shut up and back off. Not the jerk. Been there. Husband was studying for his PhD and we kept getting that question. Eventually I snapped and pointed out that the only person with a permanent job was me and we would be waiting until he had one too. Pretty sure it didn't help my relationship with my in-laws, but that was their problem. Karen demands I cover my tattoo. I, 19 female, recently got a tattoo on the back of my upper arm, around 6 centimeters in length. For context, I live with my parents and I go to university full-time. I also work around 25 hours every week. I don't pay rent, but I do use my own money for essentially everything else. To add, this is very normal where I'm from. I know a lot of people on this sub are from states where there's a strong push for being out of the house by the time you're 18, but that's practically unheard of here. unless you have rich parents who can support you to do so. You cannot attend uni, and rent in my city, it's so unaffordable. Basically, I knew my parents didn't like tattoos, but I really wanted one and thought they'd be a little upset but get over it after a few days. My dad did just that, told me he hates it, then moved on straight away. My mom, on the other hand, reacted horribly. She didn't speak to me at all for 2 weeks, like refused to look at me if I tried talking to her. And now it's been about a month. She's speaking, but does not want me to be around anyone she knows without covering my arm. When people come over to the house, I have to cover my arm. When I go out to local shopping centers where I might run into people she knows, at a wedding I'm going to soon, etc. She's saying all this because she's terrified of people gossiping about her. Every time I bring it up, she says things like, "I don't want to hear it from everyone. They're all going to talk about it." This is probably partially true. Definitely not to the extent she thinks it's going to be. Literally, no one cares that much about me. But I do come from a super judgmental family who will definitely think it's stupid and make comments about it to me. My mom, for some reason, thinks she'll be like a bad parent or something. Not sure, but she clearly thinks it's on her for some reason. Now, I'm not totally opposed to covering it up. However, it's the middle of the summer right now, and like 36 Celsius almost every day, so it's super impractical. The biggest thing, though, is more about how terrible it makes me feel. I know it's like irrational or whatever, but having to cover it up makes me feel like I'm this disgusting person who shouldn't be around people, and I hate it. This tattoo is a part of me, and it's crappy that this part of me is so terrible I can't even let people see it. The people she's trying to impress, all of my extended family, are not particularly great people, and I don't respect or care about what they think of me, so I don't care if they talk smack about me. I've always kind of stuck to my guns here, and I told her that I'm not doing that, and she's gotta accept me for it. However, every single conversation we're having now is just a never-ending argument. I don't know, I don't feel like I'm the jerk, but the way that she keeps saying stuff like, "That's the rule when you live with me," although she still would want me to cover it up around her family if I did move out. Any external opinion could help. Everyone sucks here. You're an adult and your mom shouldn't be trying to dictate your choices anymore. But you knew your parents would hate the tattoo and you chose to get it anyway, knowing that you had to live at home for at least a few more years. So you made your choice. The price of peace in your home is wearing sleeve lengths that cover the tattoo. Only you can decide if you want to keep fighting this battle. As someone who lives in a country with a housing crisis, forget this noise. Unfortunately for everyone involved, people can't move out fully and start adulting until they're at least 22 and out of university. Parents who provide housing for their adult kids need to recognize that they are adults now. OP should not have to wait to make basic decisions about herself. These types of living situations work with mutual respect. You're a family unit, but you are also an adult. Her tattoo does not affect her parents in any way, nor is it a sustained lifestyle choice. She's totally not the jerk for getting a tattoo. Her father is reasonable. Her mother is ridiculous for expecting long sleeves in the summer. In general, your living situation doesn't change your choices. It's a tattoo, bro. She could have just waited and kept the peace and enjoyed her rent-free life. The exact same thing can be said about her mom. It's just a tattoo. Not the jerk. Your parents want you to live there. They don't charge you rent to incentivize you to stay. That doesn't give them a say in your choices. To use your funds to try and control another person is a crappy thing to do. Make it clear to your parents that you can move out if they are so uncomfortable. If you want to compromise yourself for money, you can do that too. I personally would not be able to hold any love in my heart for someone who wanted to have me compromise myself for money though. I'd get out. Yup, you're the jerk. You want to live by your own rules? Then go live on your own. By your own admission, you're only able to survive based on living off your parents, but refuse to live by their rules. Higher education is nice, but not mandatory. The arrogance is just uncanny. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her mom? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for refusing to sit at the kids' table at my brother-in-law's wedding? I'm 28, female. My husband, who's 30, and I were invited to my husband's brother's wedding in the new year. For some context, we do not live in the same country as his family. We live in the US and they live in the UK, and we're trying to save for a house, so we really weren't planning on going on a holiday this year. Wedding is in July of 2024. Truth be told, I'm rather excited for this trip. I love his family and the UK, but my husband is stressed as it's going to cost us a lot of money, upwards of $5,000, including flights, hotel at the wedding venue, trains, etc. Also, for some more important backstory info, my husband's family hate each other. I mean, a nasty divorce that led to parents not speaking to each other for years. Most of the siblings, including brother-in-law, sided with the mom in the divorce. However, my husband has made it a point to not choose and is very close to both of his parents still. Both parents have new families with kids. Now, 3 months ago, my husband's mother told us that we would be sitting at the table with all the other siblings. Most siblings are under 15 years old, the youngest is 8. My husband asked if we could potentially sit with his dad's side of the family or his grandparents, who we are also very close to. However, his mother told him that we are the only neutral family members, so therefore we need to sit with the siblings as this is their first time meeting. The wedding party is worried about potential family drama arising. My husband and I were fine with this as long as we are sitting together. However, a few days ago, my brother-in-law asked my husband to be a groomsman, to which he accepted. I was thrilled for my husband as he isn't super close to his brothers. I asked where I will be sitting now that he would be at the wedding party's table. My husband just shrugged and said they likely won't move tables around that much. I asked the bride, who said I was still set with the siblings. I asked politely if I could be moved to the table with the grandparents. Again, I'm extremely close to them. The bride politely told me that I'm the only neutral party who has met all of the siblings, so I could manage the questions and potential arguments arising. Again, this is the first time that they're all meeting. I told her that I appreciate this is something that worries her, but I'm not spending thousands of dollars to be a babysitter. She said she understood, but the seating is final. We argued a little more, but she ended the argument by saying I should be happy to be sitting with the kids because I work with kids and I should be flattered the family trusts me enough with this responsibility. I began to argue, but the bride snapped that if I couldn't stand kids this much, I shouldn't have become a teacher. Please don't get me wrong. I love his siblings, but they are all at least 15 years younger than I am. I also love kids. I'm a teacher, but I want to relax and have a good time at the wedding. I also forgot to mention there will be cousins and kids from the bride's family at the table as well. I just made up my mind. I will not be sitting at the kids' table. I'm going to wander the reception, drink, and have a good time. I'll be pulling up a chair with the grandparents. I do not think it's a big ask for me to be moved to a table, but maybe I'm wrong. My mom and husband still think I'm overreacting and I should just sit with the kids. But my coworkers and friends think I should not be forced to babysit and or manage potential family fights. So, am I the jerk? To clarify a few things, unfortunately we bought the plane tickets already and they are not refundable, or a refund would have been my first choice. They never formally labeled this table as the kids' table, they refer to it as the siblings' table. My husband has 3 younger full brothers and they are adults. None of them are sitting at the siblings' table. This table is completely made up of half-siblings that are 15 and under. I'm the only one who is calling a spade a spade. I showed my husband this thread, who agreed with all of you that I am being treated unfairly. I do want to add, my husband did tell his brother that if I was sitting at the siblings' table, he could not be a groomsman already. I told him not to worry about this after my argument with the bride. It's clear they want me there regardless, and that's my frustration. My husband and I are having a conversation with them later today. I'll update you. Update. My husband and I Zoomed with the bride and the groom yesterday to address our concerns. For those who told me to just sit at the table because they are likely stressed with the wedding planning, I helped plan my sister's wedding, so I know moving one seat is not a big deal. And I only asked because my husband wasn't sitting with me anymore. The bride just said that she confirmed with the rest of the family that the siblings will all be under my care during the reception. I asked if it would just be my husband's siblings, to which my brother-in-law said, "We don't know yet. There are other family members coming and cousins who might want to sit with their cousins." I would then say, "So this is the kids' table." And my brother-in-law would say, "That's not important." I finally asked, "Are you going to blame me if any family drama comes up?" My brother-in-law just said, "That's why you're there, to prevent family drama." So you were all right about that. And this is where things got interesting. For those who said we were being punished, bingo. The bride adds my mother-in-law into the chat. She tells me to stop being selfish and that if I had a problem with being at the siblings' table, it's clear I have a problem being in the family. She also said if I'm not willing to mediate potential family-related questions and problems that might arise, I clearly do not care about my brother-in-law and his bride, and that I want to create problems on their big day. My husband was shocked and asked what makes her say that. My mother-in-law then says that it's clear I've been manipulating my husband away from her family. She accused me of siding with his father in the divorce, and that ever since my husband met me, we'd been spending more time with his father's side of the family. I want to mention that their divorce happened almost 20 years ago, and we rarely talked to his father. Her only evidence to this accusation was that I'm not willing to openly side with her. I was completely shocked by these accusations. My husband said that these accusations are rude and inappropriate and demanded my mother-in-law apologize or he will be cutting her off like John did. Mother-in-law started crying. The bride chimed in that we never included them in our wedding, we eloped, and that this was my opportunity to prove myself as a dedicated member of the family. Obviously, this blindsided me as I genuinely had no idea they felt this way. I always go above and beyond for Christmas and birthday gifts. When we visit, I ensure that I dote on their kids, and I always take the ladies of the family out for a ladies' brunch. I can understand our wedding situation is upsetting, but if my mother-in-law had voiced this to us 4 years ago, we would have hosted a small ceremony or family celebration. My mother-in-law adds that since I wasn't willing to deal with the family drama at our wedding, I should be willing to deal with it from my brother-in-law. I just sat there, jaw on the floor. My mother-in-law snapped, saying she knew the type of person I was from the second I excluded her from her son's wedding, and I'm a selfish manipulator who wanted to steal her son from her and destroy her family, and that my husband is enabling me by not insisting I put the family's needs before my own enjoyment and babysit the kids during the other son's big day. She was hoping my meltdown would show my son what kind of a person I was. Needless to say, we ended up fighting for a few more minutes before my husband slammed the computer screen down. My husband and I chatted for a moment. He apologized for his family and reassured me he knows none of those things his mother said were true. We turned our phones off and had a date night. John, male 32, my husband's older brother, got in contact with us through Instagram this morning. His wife gave me a call and we talked for hours about what happened. Apparently, the reason they left the family was because my mother-in-law did something similar to John's wife. We'll call her Sandy. Sandy didn't want a big wedding due to drama on her family's side and decided to have a small ceremony with their friends. She invited my mother-in-law, who refused to attend because my father-in-law would be there. Mother-in-law threatened Sandy she would make sure John left her if Sandy didn't exclude John's father from the wedding. Sandy didn't listen and went through with their wedding as planned. Mother-in-law accused Sandy of cheating and baby-trapping John. Sandy was pregnant at the time. My mother-in-law stalked Sandy and took photos of her out with her friends and with her brother, sending them to John as proof of her infidelity. Mother-in-law posted these photos to Facebook, captioning it, "Caught you, cheater." Relatives began harassing both John and Sandy. John and Sandy moved away and blocked everyone and have not been in contact with mother-in-law's side of the family ever since. I don't remember this at all, as I had only been with my husband for a year and he didn't want me involved with his family drama. Obviously, I feel awful that this happened to John and Sandy, but they assured me that they forgive both me and my husband. Long story short, Sandy and John are still in contact with the father, how they found out about our situation. John and my husband had a long phone call this morning to which my husband apologized for enabling his mother. My husband has gone no contact with his mother and brothers for now, and we're going to use our trip to visit my old friends from uni and visit John and Sandy. I'm really excited to meet them. These stories about all of these dramatic, toxic families, they make me so thankful for my family that none of us are like that. Yeah, no wonder so many of these people go no contact with their families. My boyfriend finally bought a gorgeous bouquet of red roses, but it was for another woman. Completely shattered and heartbroken as I'm typing this. Yesterday, I, 28 female, found out in the most cruel way that my longtime boyfriend, 28, of 6 years, has been unfaithful. For the past couple of months, he's been really distant and spending more time than usual at work. I chalked it up to stress since he had started a new job recently. However, I was starting to get suspicious when all of a sudden he started following this gorgeous woman on Instagram who also returned his follow. I curiously asked him who she was, and he replied saying she was just an old school friend, which didn't make a lot of sense since her bio said she was 24 years old, which doesn't place them in the same school year. I just had this nagging feeling that something was off, so I decided to check out her social media. On her Facebook, she had set her status to single and would repost photos of women holding huge red rose bouquets, saying how every girl deserves roses and how much she loves receiving flowers. I had a bad feeling about her and developed an obsession with checking her social media accounts daily. I kept doing that until all of my worst fears were brutally fulfilled yesterday. As I checked her Facebook, I came across what I thought was just another one of her flower posts. That was until I took a closer look at the photo. It was a photo of a man's hand which was holding a bouquet of red roses for her as she caressed the flowers. The man's hand had the exact same Apple Watch that I had bought my boyfriend and that he wears daily, and a mole on the exact place where he has one. I could also tell it was him, as he has naturally hairy hands. The woman's status was also changed from single to in a relationship. Finding out that my boyfriend was not only cheating on me, but also bought a bouquet of flowers for another woman when he never did for me completely shattered me. I haven't confronted him yet, but I've been avoiding him. It's not that hard since he barely pays me any attention these days. I know that there is no coming back from this, and this will be the end of what I thought was a lifetime relationship. I feel a lot of grief and heartbreak, but I also feel a lot of rage. How do I even overcome this? I just can't get his betrayal out of my mind. The best way is to move on. Break up with him however you see fit. Cut ties, block him. Cry, talk to your friends, pick up new hobbies, cry some more. But get him completely out of your life, first and permanently. Would I be the jerk for suing my friend after she wrote a book about me? I, 29 female, have a friend called Maya. Maya and I have been friends for 9 years after meeting in university. Maya went through a lot of mental health issues in her early to mid-20s, which impacted her career prospects. But a couple of years ago, she found an outlet in writing and now writes and publishes her stories online. They're some of the spicy romance variety. I've never read any of them because they're just not my thing, but I know she has a lot of regular readers. Recently, Maya shared that she had been contacted by a small publishing company which publishes ebooks who were interested in publishing one of the stories that she had been sharing online. I was ecstatic for her, as it's a move towards making her writing a profession, which is what she really wants to do. About 3 weeks ago, a mutual friend of ours, Amy, contacted me and asked if I had read any of Maya's current story, as she had looked it up online and she thought it had some eerie similarities to my life. I looked it up and I read a big chunk of it, and it was more than just similarities. It was basically a melodramatic reimagining of my life, specifically about my relationship with my fiance and my complicated relationship with my father. I don't know how relevant this is, but she also altered their characters and certain situations to make the plot pretty toxic. I was devastated and disgusted to say the least. I met up with Maya and asked how she could do this to me. Her explanation was that she was so inspired by my life and the things I had told her that the ideas just came to her. I kept saying they weren't her ideas, they were sensationalized details of my real life. She didn't have a single original thought in the whole story. Maya apologized profusely for hurting me and said that she was embarrassed by how much she had taken from my life, but she really loved writing the book. I told her I wasn't comfortable having my private life aired like that. Maya said nothing in the book was identifiable to me, so it wasn't like she'd done anything illegal. And I said, well, we'll see about that. I've contacted lawyers, and they've said suing her would be largely pointless in terms of stopping the book from being published, but starting legal proceedings might scare a small publishing company enough to drop her as an author. I'm seriously considering doing this. Worst case, I can't do anything to stop the book going ahead, but I've caused her an iota of the stress and hurt she's caused me. Best case, this creepy project never sees the light of day. A couple of my friends are saying I shouldn't sue her, but at the end of the day, this is her work and an opportunity for her to make a career for herself and take care of her kid after all that she's been through. I know this could ruin things for her, and I might be acting out of anger, but I really think it's justified after she betrayed my trust like this. Would I be the jerk to go ahead and sue her? Update. For everyone talking about the Streisand effect, I'm not in the US. Court and legal records here are not something you can Google or access easily. That being said, I realize Maya could publicize a lawsuit herself to get publicity, and that ultimately I'm more concerned about anonymity and it's not worth the risk. I will not be proceeding with the lawsuit. Some people suggested reaching out to the publisher privately, and I'm going to look into that. But either way, I won't drag it out into a court process. You would be the jerk, but not for the reason you think. You seem so revenge-focused that you're not thinking about additional long-term damage that you may recklessly cause to yourself. The lawyers are correct that you don't really have a case, but the threat of legal action could dissuade a small publisher from going forward. This is, however, a double-edged sword, since the author and publisher can use legal action as free publicity. Also, keep in mind that filing a lawsuit is a matter of public record. A lawsuit can forever attach this book to you, since Googling you will probably result in finding out that there's a trashy novel that you say is based on your life story. Am I the jerk for making it very clear to my dad that I'm not asking my mom to spend money on his household? My parents divorced when I, 17 male, was 2. Things are not that friendly between them. I'm not sure of the why, just that they prefer to stay apart, and I've always been okay with that. It's my normal, and I never expected them to act all friendly with each other. My dad is remarried, and he has a big blended family at his house. His wife brought 3 kids into the marriage. Dad brought me. They had 3 more kids together. They took in his wife's 2 nieces as well. I'm not really close to my dad, so I'm not really close to any of his other kids. I only spend 1 weekend a month with him now, which was my choice, and the court supported when I was 14. One thing that probably doesn't need to be explained in a lot of detail, but I will mention, is they don't really have a lot, my dad's household. Neither he or his wife have great jobs, no child support is paid, and things are always tight there. When I was younger and was there every other week, it was pretty crappy. Everyone is crammed into the 3 bedrooms they have. Meals were always kinda crappy and not exactly filling most of the time. Christmas and birthdays were very modest as well. My mom never remarried and focused on providing for stability. I never went without with her, and she always did her best to provide me with nice things, both things that I needed and stuff I wanted. My quality of life was better with her, and I was happier with her. It helped that my mom showed me that she cared and that I was a priority. I never really felt that way about my dad, but especially when he remarried and his finances took a bigger hit, it always felt like he was bitter and resentful that I was so much better provided for at my mom's. The other kids at Dad's house were aware that I had it much better with my mom. They resented me for it. Some of them hate me and think I should have been forced to not see my mom so we'd all have the same. This year, Dad told me that I should have more of an understanding and compassion for all of my siblings, and I should talk to my mom about helping me pay for gifts for them. He said I might not be able to afford much, but Mom should be making sure the other kids get something nice from me and showing me how to be a good older brother to all of them. He also mentioned household gifts to make life a little easier. He told me to ask. I made it clear to him that I will not be asking my mom to spend money on his household. Dad's response was that I'm totally old enough to put more care into my family and want to see them all have a better Christmas. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. He has no right to ask that of you. No matter your age, you'll always be his kid, not his provider. This is just horrible, and it might be time to put a little more distance between you. You're getting old enough where you can visit for the day with your dad, then head home. The tension is going to get worse with everyone. You don't need that. This is not your fault, not your problem to solve. Your only job is a relationship with your dad until he makes that impossible. Good luck. Am I the jerk for not wanting to support someone else's kid? My ex, 28 female, had a kid before we were together. There was never an issue when we started dating, and when I got serious, she asked to move into my house with her kid, and I was happy about it. Throughout the relationship, I treated the kid as I would my own. I paid for everything: sports club, insurance, tutoring, etc. She receives $389 a month in child support from the father, and he sees the kid maybe once a month. Fast forward 2 years, we have our own kid, and we're one big happy family. We'd been talking about getting married, and when we did, I would adopt her first kid, which the dad was okay with. I proposed to her, and 2 months later saw that she had been cheating on me. I was crushed and asked her to move out of my house. After she moved out, I offered to give her $1,600 a month for my kid, and she also got a part-time job making minimum wage. She says I should give the same amount for the other kid as well because I was going to adopt them when we got married. I said no. She took me to child support, hoping to get more money, but she's only getting $700 now for my kid. I've only been giving her the $700 for the last 3 months. She's spreading rumors about me and trying to ruin my reputation. She also is trying to guilt trip me, saying the kid's life has been turned upside down because of me. Am I the jerk for not wanting to support someone else's kid in this situation? Not the jerk. Had you actually adopted the kid, then legally speaking, yes, you would need to provide child support. As it stands, just because you previously paid for things does not mean that you're legally obligated to pay child support. It sounds like that kid's father is still around, unless he already signed away his parental rights because you were planning to adopt him. Either way though, you have no legal obligation to her first kid as he's not yours. The kid's life has been turned upside down because of her, not you. Not the jerk. I'm sorry for the kid, but none of this is your fault or your obligation. Maybe something nice you could do for your own kid is put the $900 you save each month on child support into a college fund. Obviously, you're not obligated to pay for someone else's kid. However, let me offer another perspective. I'm a stepdad. I separated from my partner for about 6 months a few years ago, and it was really hard on her daughter. We made an agreement that even though I wasn't paying child support or anything, the biological dad paid child support, but was 100% absent, I would still be in her life. She came to stay with me every second weekend, and we would talk on the phone between visits. Also, any big events, birthdays, Christmas, etc., we would rearrange the schedule so I could see more of her. Now, in my case, we managed to patch things up, but even if we hadn't, I wanted to remain part of her life. I had been effectively living as her dad for years at that point and didn't want to just abandon her. Now, you don't have to feel the way that I felt, but don't let the mother get in the way of your relationship with the kid. If you've been their dad for the last 2 years, you're allowed to love them as your own. You're allowed to be a part of their life. They're probably devastated at what happened, and it's not their fault at all. This doesn't mean you have to send money, but you could spend time with them, or have them stay with you, or whatever arrangement you and your ex can come up to. You don't have to do any of that, but you can, and it would definitely help the kids who are probably going through a lot at the moment. Dude, shut up. Karen X turned my house from a 4-bedroom into a 3-bedroom, so I'm suing her. My ex and I divorced about 15 years ago, and we have shared custody of our daughter. In the divorce, she wanted our house, but I fought hard against it because it's been my family home for 3 generations before I inherited it. In the end, we came to a compromise that was signed off by the judge. Basically, she gets to live in the house rent-free until our daughter turns 18. Then I get it back. I had to pay the utilities, maintenance, and property taxes the entire time. In addition, she can't make any modifications or upgrades to the house without my written permission. She's solely responsible for the cost, and the work has to be performed by an insured and legally licensed professional. I've been sending her move-out notices for months in anticipation of my daughter's 18th birthday, and recently that came to pass. The day after, I showed up to the house with a contractor because I wanted some work done before I moved back in. At first, she refused to let me in until I reminded her that I'm the legal owner of the house. According to our divorce agreement signed by the judge, she's no longer allowed to be there, and I'll call the police if she doesn't let me in. She got the point and opened the door. I was surprised nothing was packed, and it didn't seem like she was moving at all. We were arguing as I walked through and inspected my house. She wanted extra time, and I told her to be out by the end of the week or I'll have her stuff thrown out. When I walked into the living room, I was shocked into silence. The living room was expanded by a wall being torn down and having the bedroom that was once there merged into it. She turned my 4-bedroom house into a 3-bedroom one. I know I didn't sign off on this, and from the looks of it, the work was probably done by her boyfriend and not a professional. I yelled at her and told her I'm going to sue her for everything she has, then I left. She went crying to our daughter and my family, and now everyone is telling me to give her another month to find a place and to not sue her. My daughter is firmly on her mother's side and thinks I'm the jerk for kicking her mother out a couple of weeks before Christmas and suing her. This is why I'm here. I think I'm right, and legally I am right, but my daughter's opinion of me matters to me. Am I the jerk? Edit to answer some questions. 1. My daughter is a freshman in college, and I rent her an apartment near campus where she lives by herself. She has a room in my house, and I assume she will have a room wherever her mother lives. 2. My ex fought for the house and had a chance of winning, even though we had shared custody because I make much more than her. I offered her the compromise, and she took it because her attorney told her it was a good deal and there's an equal chance I could win, which would leave her without a house. 3. My relationship with my daughter is good. She didn't tell me about the renovation because early on I told her I don't want to talk or hear anything about her mother unless it's something that's affecting her, my daughter, negatively. My ex was done to me, and I wanted to spend time with my daughter building new memories. Edit to answer more questions. My daughter is a wonderful girl, and I couldn't ask for a better daughter. She has a big heart and cares about her mother. I've made it a point to never talk about her mother since the divorce, so I'm sure she doesn't fully understand our situation. I plan to talk to her. 2. I inherited the house during our marriage, and since we were still in the honeymoon phase, I placed her name on the deed. After that, I remortgaged the house twice, once to get a better rate and once for money we needed. All of this led to my attorney advising that I compromise. He said there's a real risk of losing the house, so I compromised. I don't know where you live and the worth of your house, but where I live, there's a huge price difference between a 3-bedroom house and a 4-bedroom one. Your ex's actions caused you to lose tens, if not $100,000. Not the jerk, and sue her. She's had 15 years to find an alternative accommodation. You even sent her reminders. And she violated the agreement by having unauthorized work done? Yeah, just no. Kick her out. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. Christmas is a day. She intentionally messed up the value of your house without your permission, against the judge's orders. Sue her. Well, what do you think? Should OP sue his ex or not? Please let us know. My mother stole $160,000 from me. I, 24 female, found out earlier this year that I was supposed to receive around $160,000 in inheritance money when my father passed away. I found out by looking into a cabinet in our house. I was compelled to do so because my mother acts rich or poor whenever it suits her, plus other strange behavior. I found a letter that was addressed specifically to me from the life insurance company that had my inheritance. All I needed to do was submit some paperwork and they'd give me a check. I'm not sure how, but my mother somehow submitted documents for me and even cashed the check that was in my name. I'm also not sure why she felt entitled to it when she got $500,000 in inheritance herself. When I confronted her about it, she obviously did not take it well. She was very adamant that it's her money, until I informed her that, after I found the documents, I called the life insurance company and received photocopies of the check, the submitted documents, etc. After I told her that, she tried negotiating with me, saying that she can give me $10,000 to start with and then $2,000 every month. I said no. I said she will guilt me into delaying her payments if we go that route. She tells me she will be homeless if I get all the money at once. I eventually make her show me her bank statements. As far as I know, she has around $330,000. In addition, she's been making 6 figures with her job for the past 3 years. Homeless? Yeah, right. I told her I need a good amount of money if I want to have any chance of moving out. I wanted to move out with my friend, but my mom took way too long to give me any money. I received $50,000 from her. Like a week or so later, she started asking if she could borrow $20,000 for a month. She said that she needs it in her bank account so that the lender can approve of the condo or house she wants to buy. She asked if I would be okay, and I stupidly told her that I'd be getting grants from school too. She then wanted to borrow $20,000 on top of the grant money by passive-aggressively mentioning it whenever she could. A few weeks later, she forced me to go with her to the bank to withdraw $20,000. This was on October 3rd. On November 23rd, I asked her to give me $2,000. I told her it's been almost 2 months and I want a portion of it back, via text. She gives me the silent treatment, in text and in person. The next day, I try calling her. She starts crying hysterically, saying, 1. I knew I shouldn't have trusted you with money. 2. What are you doing? Things you shouldn't be? Are you gambling? Why are you so mean? You ruined my holiday. You've ruined my life. You're abnormal. You're just doing this because you're behind in life and you're desperate. You don't have utilities to pay for. I spent so much money on food the past month. I'm not exaggerating when I say I've never told her to buy me food or make me food, but she always uses it as a form of guilt. A couple of days later, we have a 4-hour argument. During this argument, I was so disgusted with her behavior that I told her I want nothing to do with her. A couple of days after that, to my surprise, she comes into my room and asks me to hug her. She starts crying and says that she just suppresses her thoughts and feelings. She says she'll give me $500 now and then $500 on December 22nd. What? I swallowed my anger for a couple of days, but then I could no longer hold it in. I wasn't giving her the silent treatment, but I wasn't looking at her or initiating any form of talking. She notices this and starts asking what's wrong. She goes, "It's the money, isn't it?" And then repeats the same thing she did last time. "Are you gambling? You have no utilities," etc. And again, she made it very clear that she wants to buy a condo or a house. I just can't remember which. I told her I'm mad at her because you told me you needed $20,000 for a month. It's been over 2 months and now you're still not giving it back, so you lied. After this, she started acting like she was about to cry and then she left the house. She then transferred another $500. I haven't talked to her since. It infuriates me that she thinks she's entitled to this money. Why do you need a house? You're getting old and you're single. Secondly, not only was this money only in your account in the first place because you committed fraud, but now I let you borrow money, and you're going to treat me like it's an allowance? It's my money legally. Get over it. You already got $500,000 before you took my money. Since I was 18, I've been working minimum wage jobs. She's made it so clear as day that she thinks her needs are way above mine. I don't have utilities. I don't have a career yet, so I'm less important. Even if that's factually true, I'm your kid, and that money is legally mine. Also, I just want to share this example of her behavior that I just remembered. When I was 19, I was working at a tutoring place in addition to a restaurant while taking 16 units in college with no car. I was leaving the house one day to go get a haircut. My mom then asked me, "Where are you going?" I told her I'm going to go get a haircut. She then says, verbatim, "Really? You're supposed to be using that money to help me." That's how entitled she is. Like, OMG. At this point, she received $660,000, while her kid, who is a full-time student with 2 jobs and no car, is not important enough to use the money they earned from their job to go get a haircut. I'm so mad, and I just have a huge problem with getting this taken care of because I hate making people uncomfortable. This is also why I usually cannot blindside a person by randomly bringing an issue up. I usually have to text them first, but I'm starting to think that that's never a good idea. Ugh. Get an attorney and sue her. She's manipulating you left and right. And she's falsified documents and stole your money. Press charges. Get a lawyer. Mail fraud, insurance fraud, identity theft. Why are you being miserable for her? She's very likely ruining your credit and aspects of your future. You don't owe her anything. You need to stop this before it's too far. Your mother stole $160,000 from you, and you're worried about making her uncomfortable? She obviously wasn't uncomfortable forging your signature to steal the money. She has the money in her account, and you should demand she repay it in full immediately. She's a crappy person for continuing to manipulate you, and so what if she suddenly can't afford something as a direct consequence of her theft? She should be grateful you haven't retained an attorney and come after her or called the police. My husband's work wifey is trying to steal him from me. So I met work wifey last Thursday at the Christmas party. She introduced herself as work wifey and she claimed my husband as work hubby and told that to everyone. When she saw me, she just exclaimed, "Oh, we're like 2 totally different people. How weird is that?" Not weird at all. We don't know each other. No, I mean like because X and I get along so well. Like we totally get each other and we have a lot in common, like totally. That's why he's my work hubby. I didn't know what a manic pixie dream girl was, but apparently she is one, and apparently it was something to brag about. I just found the whole thing very amusing, but on our way home, it wasn't very amusing anymore. I felt a little bit of ick watching my husband's profile, wondering what was going on in his head. He's told me about his new work colleague that he got along with. He told me that she was great at her job and that she was a gamer like him. I don't even know how to hold the joystick properly. Not even sure if it's called a joystick anymore. Ugh, I sound like a boomer, don't I? I know that they text a lot too, even on weekends. I never thought about that before now. I found myself sit on the toilet seat at 3:30 a.m. scrolling through his phone in total silence not to wake him up. She is very youthful and quirky, her words, not mine. She is very funny too. Again, her words, not mine. She calls him hubs and hubby in every text. And in one text, she warned him that men fell easily for her and that she just wanted to give him the heads up. I guess it's because she's a youthful, quirky, funny, manic, pixie dream girl gamer. Her last text was from the same evening after we left the party. She wrote that she was upset that he didn't say goodbye before leaving and that I was a bit surprising to her because she didn't expect him to have this type. OMG, your wife is boring. I didn't expect that. I felt ashamed when I came to my senses. Cowering over his phone and reading weird, very juvenile messages, instead of being sound asleep beside my husband, that makes me safe in our relationship. But I couldn't help but agree with manic wifey in some parts. Why is he continually engaging with her? He doesn't flirt back, nor does he initiate conversations, but he doesn't really shut her down. My husband can be stupid and not noticing flirting, but I feel that this is just beyond being stupid. Does he enjoy the attention, or worse, does he reciprocate it? I just don't understand what's going on between them. Today I had my usual brunch with my mom, aunt, sister, and sister-in-law. They said that I was the jerk for not nipping it in the bud, and by it, they meant the budding affair. I disagreed and tried to explain that I couldn't be in a relationship where I needed to stand guard to keep away temptations. I want a marriage where he's with me because he wants to be with me, and if he cheats, then he doesn't want to be with me. My mother was the one who got the most upset and called me a moron and a jerk and said that this wasn't the mature thing to do. I needed to tell my husband to end his friendship because if I didn't, then I let him cheat. Am I the jerk? I can't believe what life this is that they want me to lead and how it's so normal for my family to think that way. I want a willing husband, not a prisoner. I want someone who wants me 100% or nothing. Not the jerk, but I would be having a conversation with your husband about it and telling him how you feel. Whether he's initiating the conversation or flirting or not doesn't really matter if he's entertaining the conversation regardless. His colleague is bold, that's for sure. I can't believe she had the audacity to introduce herself to you as his work wife and then turn around and talk badly about you to your husband. She's fishing him to see what he thinks about his wife. I understand where you're coming from in regard to your husband, and you holding him accountable to being your partner is not the equivalent of him being a hostage. Personally, I hate the whole work husband and work wife BS. You mentioned your husband being oblivious. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that's the case. What's wrong with pointing out how inappropriate what she's doing and his enabling behavior is? If he did not realize it, he'll address it, right? Karen loses it over a gift exchange. This all happened about 10 years ago, but after spending all morning reading stories on this sub, I felt like sharing my own experience. For years, I, male, early 30s at the time, was close friends with Brittany, female, same age as me. Brittany and I had gone to college together, gone on trips together, and were pretty much inseparable. She had always had a bit of an entitled streak to her, but it was never anything drastic. She usually kept it restrained to things like being the only one to pick which restaurant our friend group went to, or having her seat in each friend's home. Annoying, yes, but pretty mild overall. Then Christmas hit. A mutual friend of ours decided to host a Christmas get-together for our large extended friend group, which included both me and Brittany. This friend, Mary, had recently gotten married and bought a new house with her new husband, Matt. Mary's wedding had been a small, private, family-only affair. To celebrate with friends, as well as celebrate their new house and the holiday, Mary invited about 30 people from our extended friend group to a big Christmas party. It was wonderful. Mary has always been one heck of a cook, and she insisted on providing everything for the guests. She did all of the cooking, bought tons of drinks, alcohol and non-alcohol, and made sure that none of her guests were without a drink or a plate of amazing food all night. Mary had only one request for her guests. Each person bring a gift to contribute to a white elephant gift exchange. Happily, especially given how much Mary and Matt shelled out to feed all of us, we all brought a gift. For those not familiar, white elephant exchange, called Yankee swap or dirty Santa in some places, involve everyone bringing a wrapped gift. Then, one by one, each person chooses a gift from the pile. The first person opens his or her chosen gift. Then the second person can either open a new gift or steal the first person's gift. Third can steal second's or first gift or pick a new one. On and on until everyone has had a chance. Then the first person gets the last chance to steal. One rule put in place in a lot of these exchanges is that a gift can only be stolen twice. So if you're the third person to get your hands on a gift, it's yours for good, and no one can take it from you. This was the downfall of Mary's gift exchange, at least when it came to Brittany. The gift exchange started, and people were having fun stealing blankets, candles, gift cards, and the like from other friends. No one was upset if their gift was stolen. I mean, it's all in good fun, and we're all friends, right? Well, Matt, Mary's new husband and party co-host, was really good at making his own beer. As his gift in the exchange, he wrapped up a full case of this amazing dark stout that he made. Bob opened that and was excited. We all knew how amazing the beer was, as we had been drinking it all night long at the party. Then Tim stole the beer from Bob. We laughed, Bob was disappointed, but he gave it over to Tim in spirit of the game. Then it was my turn. I stole the beer from Tim. Like Bob, Tim was disappointed, but willingly gave me the beer and laughed along with the disappointment. Notice that I was the third owner of the case of beer. That means that, per the rules of Mary's game, I was safe from having it stolen from me. Brittany was next to go. She tried to steal the beer, but was reminded by several people that the beer had been stolen twice now already, so it was officially mine. Instead of just picking a new gift or stealing someone else's, Brittany threw a fit. All the other gifts suck. "That's not fair. The beer's the only thing I want. I wouldn't have played if I had known this stupid rule." On and on she went. She was making everyone uncomfortable, especially Mary. Matt intervened and politely asked Brittany to just play along. He reminded her that there were still a few bottles of the stout in the kitchen if she wanted one. But no, Brittany couldn't handle not having the full case to take home with her. She pouted and refused to pick another gift or play the game. So we skipped her. The game continued on, and everyone other than Brittany had a gift. With only one gift left, Brittany was forced to take that or nothing. She chose nothing and, on top, continued to complain and moan about how unfair the rules were. The person who brought the unclaimed gift took it back and gave it to Mary and Matt as a housewarming gift. Seeing that, Brittany stormed out and left. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. Over the next few days, I was barraged with text messages from Brittany demanding that I give her the case of Matt's beer. She didn't ask if I would share it, which I probably would have. She demanded that I give it to her outright, saying, "You know the rules were BS, and it should have been mine anyway." When I told her no, she started with guilt trips. "You make more money than me, so you can buy expensive beer and I can't. We've been friends for so long, it's only right, and you're being selfish." The final message from her was, "I hope you choke on it, jerk." I blocked her number, removed her from my Facebook friends list, and haven't spoken to her since. Nor, for that matter, have Mary and Matt, nor about a third of the party guests. She lost a lot of friends, all over a case of beer. It was good beer, though. I thought of Brittany every time I drank a bottle. My fiancé of 8 years refuses to have a wedding. My 32 female fiancé, who's 33 male, does not want to have a wedding of any kind. No elopement, no ceremony, no rings exchanged, no vows, nothing. I've always wanted a traditional medium-sized wedding, but I've compromised to doing an elopement with just my parents present. He refused. So I compromised again and said, let's just do the paperwork like he wants to, then go to dinner with the 4 of us and celebrate. He refused. Then I said, okay, let's just do the paperwork and dinner with the 2 of us and then get some pictures of the 2 of us and maybe do a party or something with family a few months from now. He refused. I just want to make it special. It's important to me and I've expressed that to him and he will not compromise on anything. We've been together for 8 years, so it's not as if we don't know each other well. I'm really starting to rethink getting married and even staying in this relationship, but he says I'm being bratty. Am I putting too much importance on this? Anyone else just do paperwork and call it a day and not regret it? Edit to add, he just wants to do paperwork and make it legal. He doesn't want a ceremony or fanfare of any kind. He doesn't have family he wants to invite, and I'm very close to my family and want to have them at something. He also wants to focus on saving money and not spending it on a wedding. How much did you push for him to get engaged? Because my spidey sense is telling me that he wasn't so willingly going down on one knee. My bet? He doesn't want to get married. He caved to the engagement, and now bashing the wedding is his latest way to delay and push it off. OP. I didn't really push. We've been living together for 7 years, and he just showed up in the kitchen one afternoon with an engagement ring. I was like, okay. I do also think you're right that he doesn't really want to get married on some level. The thing I'm confused about is I was very slow to schedule anything because I'd rather delay it than give in to something I don't want to do. But he asked me daily to schedule an appointment to do the paperwork. Why not just leave it alone and wait for me to initiate everything? I wouldn't have even scheduled the paperwork if he didn't keep pushing me because I wanted to plan the elopement. I have a feeling he doesn't want to make it legal. You offered him many options. What's the problem with signing the papers and having dinner with your parents? Is that an inconvenience to him? OP. He doesn't want to spend the money and thinks I'm too dependent on my parents. I see them for holidays and talk to them on the phone weekly. He isn't close to his family, so he thinks I shouldn't be. Is he considerate of you in other ways, or is he generally as dismissive of your feelings as he is about this? If it's just a quirk and he's a wonderful and caring a man otherwise, then just let it go, I guess. But it seems doubtful that a man who exhibits such a complete lack of regard for your wants and feelings in this will be a good partner. Only you know that, and I've seen you carefully not answer any questions about that. OP. It's complicated. He has some mental health issues he's been dealing with since before I met him. He doesn't want a ceremony because he has no family he wants to invite, and he doesn't want to spend the money, which I understand, but I think he's going too far in the opposite direction. If he can't have his way, no one can. And again, I'm wondering if I should see this as a red flag. Update. I had another conversation with him. He agreed to have dinner with the 2 of us and take a couple photos, but only if he could buy himself a new computer. That was much more insulting to me than anything before, especially because he claimed his reason for not agreeing to anything is mostly because of money. I think most of the comments were correct and that he never really wanted to get married. I called everything off, canceled our appointment to do paperwork, and returned the ring we bought. I'll have to deal with telling my coworkers, but I guess I'll Google how to tell people without going into too much detail. I'm leaving him. I have ignored a lot of stuff with him because we are financially stable together, comfortable, and he was my first and only relationship. So I think I just wanted to make it work and didn't really know what was normal and what I've learned to tolerate. I'm sorry, OP, but you did the right thing for you. How did he take the news? OP: initially, he was really angry and talking about how I get everything because I got 2 rings, the date I wanted, photos, and dinner, and he doesn't get anything out of getting married. That is all for me. Then he calmed down and said he wants to get married because I'm his best friend and he loves me. I'm probably going to a friend's house or my parents today because the last time we broke up, I ended up going back. He told me to pack and that he would get rid of my stuff if I didn't. Would I be the jerk if I refused to give my fiancé money ever again? My fiancé and I have 2 kids. We agreed that I'd stay home and care for them until they both go off to school. He'd pay all of the bills and such since it would be a lot cheaper for me to stay home versus sending our disabled kid to daycare. I received some money for Christmas from my dad, but he told me to spend on myself and the kids. Fiancé found out about this money and asked to borrow it. I told him I didn't really want to since we needed diapers and wipes and other stuff for our kids, and I planned on buying those with the money my dad gave me. My mom ended up buying them as a late gift. Fiancé decided to write out a contract that stated he legally had to pay me back in 2 weeks. I added in that if he couldn't pay it by his own deadline, that he'd owe me an additional $100, and he agreed to that. He signed the contract and marked it with the thumbprint and everything. The first deadline was on the 13th of this month. He paid me back $5 of the $125 that he owed me by then. The second deadline is the 31st. He's now telling me he just can't pay it back and is saying that partners don't do this, that they're supposed to help each other out, etc. I told him it was his idea for the contract and that he agreed to both terms. It's even on video of him signing it, by the way. My thing is, I wouldn't be so pressed about being paid back if the day I lent him the money, he didn't decide to buy $60 worth of smoking supplies instead of paying his car note like he said he would. He's saying I should be more than glad to help my partner who's struggling, which I would be if he wouldn't spend his bill money on smoking stuff and the lottery. So I told him either he can pay back the full amount of $225 that he agreed to paying me for, or he will get absolutely nothing from me anymore. I have 0 income. The money I get is gifted to me by my family or on the rare occasion from him. I've been trying to find a work-from-home job but haven't found one I qualify for yet. And since he doesn't work a regular job, I can't just work on his off hours since he doesn't have a set schedule. Some days he works mornings, some days he works nights, and he doesn't know until the day of or the day before. Am I the jerk here? Edit. When he and I had first gotten together, he was doing a lot better financially. He wasn't spending his money on smoking nearly as much as he is now. He was actually providing at first. Even when we had our first kid 4 years ago, he was still pretty good. We planned on stopping at 1 kid until our oldest was much older, so I'd gotten on birth control not long after having our oldest. My birth control ended up failing, and I found out I was pregnant too late to do anything about it. At that time, things were still doing a lot better than they are now, so I figured things would stay good after having our second. When I was still pregnant with my youngest, our oldest became disabled. She suffered a fall that changed everything for us. She's been in and out of the hospital more times than I can even count. It was sudden and unexpected. She was already receiving Medicaid, so medical bills weren't and aren't an issue, thankfully, but her disability has still taken its toll on everyone. When he asked to borrow the $125, I told him no at first, but he kept insisting that he'd lose his car if he didn't make the car payment. It wasn't until he answered a FaceTime call from the guy who was going to sell him that other stuff that I realized what was really going on. I also saw some people suggesting to do Uber Eats and stuff like that. I definitely would, but we are a 1-car family, and he always has the car when he works. Otherwise, I'd be out there doing deliveries. I have applied for disability for my oldest, but the process is still ongoing, so we haven't received payment yet. I do try to do surveys to make a little extra money every chance I get, but I'm going to look into the work-from-home suggestions some of y'all had and try to get one ASAP. I do receive WIC and EBT, so I buy most of the food. He buys anything extra and pays the rest of the bills, or rather, he's supposed to. He doesn't tell me much about his finances, so I don't know exactly how much money he has coming in and how much the bills are. When I ask him, he gets pretty angry, so I just drop the subject. A lot of you are suggesting that I leave him. I know that's probably for the better, but it's hard when you still love someone. He was a great partner for years before we had our first, and he was a great father for a while after having our first. I don't want to just throw it all away. I hope I explained things better. You have a much bigger problem here. You have 2 kids with a man you don't trust to pay you back $125. I agree that it sounds like you are right to not trust him, but how are you going to raise 2 kids with someone you can't trust with $125? Not the jerk. Why is this person a fiance instead of an ex who pays you child support? You're the jerk for that, not the jerk for not enabling him further by giving him more money. Am I the jerk for making my friend's cat lose weight while she was in my care? My friend's cat, Juno, has always been massive. Well, beyond the level of a usual, "Oh, that cat is kinda big." She was an absolute tank, and she's not even a large breed, just a standard regular cat. Whenever someone would point out that she was bigger than she should be, my friend would get annoyed and insist that she's just that way and is perfectly healthy. My friend started a global mobility assignment at her job that involved living in Europe for a year, and she asked me if I would take care of Juno while she was gone, which I agreed to. She walked me through all the cat care matters before she left and told me that Juno was free-fed and I just needed to keep her feeder topped off so that she could access dry food at any time. The feeder wasn't on a timer. It was just a bottle that dispensed food with gravity whenever the tray got empty. I told her that I really wasn't comfortable letting her have constant access to food at her weight. She said, "Look, she's still my cat and you don't get to make that call. Either tell me you're going to stick to the plan or tell me you won't and I'll find someone else." I agreed, but admittedly I wondered if I would be able to follow through on my word for a whole year. I lasted maybe a week. Having Juno around all day, every day, made it extremely clear how much she was suffering because of her weight. She struggled to even hop up on my couch. I took the feeder away and started feeding her 1 can of wet food in the morning and 1 can in the evening. I work from home, so the adjustment period of constant yowling for food was an absolute nightmare, but it worked. She is now 14 pounds after 8 months on my way or the highway diet and is much more energetic and mobile. Even her breathing sounds better. My friend has started to notice the weight loss in the photos that I've been sending her and is extremely upset that I went behind her back after I agreed to the free feeding. She demanded that I go back to the old way. I said honestly, "I'm sorry, but I really don't think I can bring myself to do that." I was like, "I know that when she is back with you that you're going to do what you want, but while she's under my roof, I just can't let her gorge herself on food all day when it's clear that she can eat normally and lose weight. That would be neglect." My friend called around to see if any other friends or family would take her up on the remaining 4 months, but no one could or wanted to. She's extremely upset with me and says that when she gets back in the US, she's taking her cat back and this friendship is over. It hurts, but I accept it. I know I went back on my word, and it must feel very bad for my friend to be across the world with this situation totally out of her hands. But I don't know if I can bring myself around to thinking that I actually did something morally wrong. I welcome any and all feedback. Lay it on me. Not the jerk. I'm a cat owner myself and would generally be furious to hear someone disregarding an owner's instructions. But if the cat is down to 14 pounds, then she really needed the diet. The typical healthy weight for a house cat is 8 to 12 pounds, so unless this was some very large breed, you did her a favor. My boyfriend, who's 31, has been ranting about orange peel theory for days. I, 25 female, am getting uncomfortable and want him to stop. We've been together for about a year and a half. I'm previously widowed, relevant later. This is his first relationship, so for a while I was trying to understand that he would make awkward mistakes and we would have to work through them. Lately, he's been bringing up orange peel theory quite a bit, sending me TikToks about why it's unhealthy and bad for your relationship, and then later mentioning it in conversation again. It's essentially someone asking their partner to peel an orange, and if they peel it for you, they pass, and if they don't or complain about it, it's a bad sign or whatever. I love this man, but this is starting to hurt my feelings, and the way he so obviously feels attacked is making me feel gross. I don't know why he's so offended, if I'm being honest. This is not a thing that happens for us. I don't test him, and I'm always respectful and considerate to him. I would say I do a lot of things for him, with or without him asking, just because I like making his day better and his life easier. Him staying so heated about this is making me wonder if he feels resentful for being asked to do anything for me, and I have a few past examples that keep popping up in my head. I had a pet that my husband had gotten for me pass before a big event several months ago. I was devastated, and he offered for us to miss, but I told him it would be good to go get my mind off of it for a few hours. We had a bit of a walk to get there, and because I was crying a bit, he asked if he could do anything to make me feel better. I'm a big sap, and it just makes me smile. So I asked him if he could romantically ask to hold my hand. He just said, "Can I hold your hand?" And I laughed and said, "More romantic than that." This made him mad, and he roughly grabbed my hand and started walking. I started tearing up, and he told me I was being mean, only apologizing because by the time we got to the venue, I was crying hard despite trying to hold it together. Another time, he had gone to visit his parents and wanted to leave early. My home was closer than his apartment, and I was having a horrible weekend. I was sick and very down. He mentioned he was heavily considering coming to stay with me, and I told him I would appreciate it as I was struggling and missed him. Despite him being very positive about it just before, this flipped some kind of switch in him, and he said, "I'll come, but I'm leaving first thing in the morning, so don't ask me to stay longer." I got hurt by this and told him to not come at all then, as I hadn't even suggested it, and suddenly he's, "Oh no, but I want to be with you. I support you, baby. Please let me." And eventually I relented, and he ended up staying into the afternoon. I have several other instances of him suggesting he wants to help or be kind to me, but the second I take him up on it or ask for him to alter it slightly, he's angry. Then he'll tell me that we just need to communicate more, while he doesn't listen to me and only wants to do things on his own terms, which is fine if he would say that, but he always tries to spin it back on me, victimizing him somehow. I'm tired, and the now daily mentions of how annoying and rude this trend is to him is getting hurtful, but I have no idea how to address this with him without it being interpreted as being mean. What can I say? He sounds like a kid with an oppositional defiant disorder. As soon as he senses someone wanting a specific behavior from him, he feels compelled to resist, even though he previously wanted to do it. My boyfriend has waifus, and it's destroying me. My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years. Those 3 years have been amazing. He's genuinely someone I want to be with for the rest of my life. He makes me feel like I'm the only girl in the world. The problem started recently when he started getting closer to one of his friends. His friend is single and has multiple waifus, which from what I understand are fictional characters with whom he's in a relationship. I don't have a problem with his friend. I do, however, have a problem with my boyfriend developing his own relationships with 3 separate characters. At first, he told me it was all a joke. I then found writing he had done, a story about himself and these characters hooking up. After I confronted him, he finally admitted to it being serious. Apparently, he used to be into this stuff before we met, and talking to his friend made him feel like he wanted to start again. He won't tell me anything about it because he says it makes him uncomfortable to talk about it. When he said that, the only thought in my head was, "You're uncomfortable? You're the one doing it." All of this has made me feel so alone, unappreciated, betrayed, and hurt. I feel like I shouldn't care because they're fictional, but he spends all day talking with his friends about them. It's brought back insecurities I had dealt with after my first relationship ended. I feel like his behavior spits on the mutual respect I thought we had for each other in our relationship. What's the best course of action here? Should I try to talk to him about it, or just get gone before he makes everything worse? Again, how the heck do these guys get women? What on earth? My wife literally said the other day that she feels sorry for women nowadays. The girls need to unionize. Your boyfriend is a loser who needs to grow up. This is embarrassing behavior and is quite disturbing as well. He talks with his friends about fake hookups with his anime characters? What the heck? Trade the boy in for a man. He is nowhere near being mature enough for an adult relationship. Leave him to his toys and imaginary friends. This is all so stupid. I can't deal with it. Find yourself an intelligent grown-up who doesn't know what the word waifu means. This is what I tell my daughters. If a dude doesn't know how to use any tools and instead spends all day watching cartoons and playing video games, yet you still choose to date him, then this is kind of what you deserve. Good men do things like exercising, focusing on their careers, eating healthy, and they're always learning. This is how my husband and sons live. The thing is, these men can afford to have standards of their own, and if you're a gamer or anime girl with purple hair and tattoos, they will probably avoid you like the plague. It doesn't pay to snoop, then accuse the boss. First, some background. I own a tanning salon, and it's open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. There are usually 5 to 6 girls working part-time there, and the pay is $12 an hour, plus cash commissions on the things they sell. It's worth noting that it's a small, non-chain business in a college town. All of the paychecks are kept in a drawer, in individual envelopes with the employees' names on them taped shut. They pick up their envelope on payday, and it's worked well except for one instance. One employee decided to open everyone's envelopes to see their pay, and she was livid that one girl was getting paid $2 more an hour. Instead of just asking me about it, she decided to blast the employee group chat and accuse me of ripping them off, etc. Before you think the same thing, it's worth noting again that this is a college town with all college-age workers, which for my particular salon, it has meant it's very hard to consistently have someone who wants to close weekends. They're all usually going home, have plans, want to study, etc. I try to be super accommodating, and I work around everyone's schedules to the best of my ability. If someone says they can't work, I do not ask questions, I just accept it and plan accordingly. So the reason this girl made a little extra was because she offered to close both days every weekend because she didn't mind. She didn't want as many week hours, so I offered to pay her a little extra because it was so difficult a lot of the times to schedule that. Plus, those 2 days can be a little slow, so commissions are usually not as good. I guess the girl who snooped never bothered to look at the schedules to see if there was maybe a reason that girl made a little more, even though she really didn't because she worked so few hours. Cue malicious compliance. I explained the situation to all of the girls. I told the snooper that since she was right, totally a ripoff, I would make sure to fix it. I started scheduling both the snooper and my weekend closer every weekend night for the next 3 weeks. I really only needed one person working, but I had done a terrible wrong that needed to be made right. At the extra pay for the snooper, of course. I would have done it longer, but she apologized and said she was totally fine going back to how it was before because she wanted her weekends back and the extra pay wasn't worth it. I guess we could have discussed that together if she had just talked to me in the first place instead of jumping to conclusions. You must be a saint, because I would have fired someone snooping through the paychecks. Don't know what made her think that was any of her business. OP, I'm no saint, I can assure you. I hate firing people, but it is part of the job. I usually try to discuss issues first and give them chances, unless it's something really bad, like the one and only guy I ever hired, then promptly fired because he got a girl's number from her customer account and started trying to ask her out and bothering her. You fired that guy? But this girl snooping around and getting all your other employees' personal and private info and then blasting it as well as misinformation to everyone, not fired? Also, why the heck were the checks even accessible? Karen demands I hire a nanny to watch her baby so she can go party. My daughter, 17 female, has a 1-year-old daughter. The father is not around. We sued for child support and won, but he has never paid a dime. It was very important to not only my daughter, but myself and her mother that she finish high school, then go to college. Therefore, we made a deal. We will cover childcare expenses and everything related to the child, diapers, clothes, insurance, etc., until she graduates from college. In exchange, our daughter will focus on school and care for her daughter when she is home. Due to lockdown concerns, my wife and I have decided that a nanny would be better versus putting her in daycare exposed to the other kids. The nanny is a very sweet woman who in the past has offered to watch our granddaughter extra hours. We always tell her that won't be necessary. My daughter usually leaves for school right before the nanny arrives, so I stay with my granddaughter for 10 minutes. Today, when the nanny came, we were talking about potential bad weather that might close the roads for tomorrow. As she doesn't work Fridays, my wife is home and watches the baby. I said I'd pay her for the week now, including a full day for Thursday. She said we could just pay her on Saturday. I was confused, and she said my daughter had asked her to work. I told her, 1, my daughter did not hire her. She doesn't choose the hours, we do. 2, unless our daughter needs to study or something, we won't be needing her. I waited until my daughter came home to talk to her about it. She said that her friends were going to a party. She feels overwhelmed from school and caring for a baby. I told her I understood, but this was our deal. She started to cry and said that all her life is school and baby. I hugged her, told her that this was the bed she made and she was lucky to have the arrangement she does. If she wants to earn her own money, she can get a part-time job and pay for childcare in her free time. That just made her more upset. My wife agrees with me, but our daughter is very upset and thinks we should just cave just this once. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. This may be unpopular, but I agree with you and your wife. What clinched this was that she went behind your back on this. She might have asked you about having a night off to have fun. That's a reasonable request, but she didn't. She tried to sneak one by you. 17 and the mother of a 1-year-old, she still has a lot of growing up to do. Adults talk and tell each other what's going on. She's a child raising a child. Talk to her, work out something so she gets to be a teenager at least once or twice a month. These are not easy times we're in. I agree, not the jerk at all. She made the choice to have a kid, and now she's stuck with the consequences. Don't like not being able to go party, where there's likely going to be drinking going on that shouldn't be? Sucks, friend. You're a mom now. Moms have to put their child first, no matter what. She's also getting free childcare while she goes to school and doesn't work, which most young parents would do anything for. She's being ungrateful, especially because she's gone behind her parents' backs to get what she wants. Moms have to put their child first, no matter what? I don't think that's true. I'm a mom, and occasionally I'm allowed to do things for myself. Always putting my kids and my husband first doesn't make me the best parent I can be. If all this poor girl is doing is school and parenting, and she is as burnt out as she says she is, she can't be a very good mom to her kid. I'm not saying what she did was right, but she deserves a break or she will literally break. And honestly, I think it's crappy for OP to tell the daughter if she wants to have any free time, she has to get a job to earn money to pay for childcare. The daughter would probably make less than a nanny, so how can she earn enough to pay for the nanny while she works and save enough to pay her so she can go out too? Or was OP offering to pay the nanny while the daughter works? It didn't sound like it, so OP wasn't offering a realistic solution, i.e., the daughter will never be able to do anything other than study and parent. I think it sounds like the daughter is being punished for having the baby, but being told she is lucky. Gaslighting at its finest. Parents don't get a night off. Didn't that Dayquil commercial teach you anything? The problem with this setup is that she needs to grow up. Yeah, she's a kid. Boo-hoo. Well, she's a kid who decided to keep a kid. It ain't all teen moms, honey. It's hard work, and sometimes you miss parties, especially if you don't communicate. Imagine if this girl had said, "Hey mom, Susie is having a party on Saturday. Can you watch the baby?" Or "Can you pay nanny to watch the baby?" It would have been way different. Teaching responsibility is part of parenting. That's all this dad is trying to do. Parents get nights, or at least hours and time off all the time. Grandparents take them. Spouse has them while the other goes out. Family babysits, friends watch kids, etc. Now she's 17 and some of these aren't available and etc. But to say parents don't get time off as a blanket statement is dumb. She's always a parent, but most parents once or twice a month will get some child free time. And this is better for their kid because burnt out and sanity management is real. 100% she should have communicated and not gone behind her own parents' backs though. She's not actually always a parent. Her parents are kind enough to let her focus on studies, so she is free of her baby for quite a while every day. Yeah, WTF, as if no socializing occurs at high school. This daughter has about the best possible arrangement here for a teen parent who insists on keeping the baby. Imagine what it's like for so many others without wealthy parents. OP is being extremely reasonable. I get the impression that they'll work with her on important stuff like prom too. To portray this as though she's suffering from anything but her own choice is asinine. You don't teach responsibility by burning out a kid. She messed up. Big deal. Now she's acting according to the deal. But she's still a kid. Do we really want to read about something bad happening to that baby because the mom was depressed and didn't see a way out? Just because she has it good doesn't mean it's not heavy on her teenage mind. It's a situation that messes up adults. Imagine kids. Yeah, this time she doesn't get to go to the party because she went behind her parents' back, but using maternity as a punishment isn't going to get anyone far. Am I the jerk for telling my aunt to pay for her own Peacock Premium account because she doesn't like my profile picture? I'm a college student, so I had a way of getting Peacock Premium for a reduced rate. I originally got it for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, but I have branched out. That said, since Five Nights at Freddy's holds a special place in my heart, the profile picture I set for myself is Freddy Fazbear himself. Either way, this is not about that. You might be wondering why my aunt has my Peacock account. The answer is my uncle. My dad, my dad's fiance, Maria, and I went to visit my grandparents, and it turns out my Uncle Jerry was visiting from out of state. We visited on football night, so my grandfather, my dad, and Uncle Jerry were trying to watch the game. Bad news, whatever my grandpa uses to get his channels on his TV failed. Uncle Jerry said we could use Peacock to watch it, but since they don't have an account, they'd need to pay for it. This is where I came in. I signed in on his iPad and they watched it a bit on there, but then they wanted to scale up, so I signed in on my grandparents' Fire Stick. Simple as that. They enjoyed the game and then soon we left for home. A few days passed and I didn't hear anything. But then I got a text from my Aunt Melinda, Jerry's wife, saying, "You need to change your picture on your Peacock account. It's too scary for me and the kids." Uncle Jerry has 2 sons, and they're 10 and 7. They're also very much of Christian faith, so I bring that up because their household is not conducive to horror. However, Freddie holds a dear place in my heart for many reasons that I won't outline here. I told Aunt Melinda that I didn't want to, and she said that I need to. I then told her, "If you don't want to see Freddie every time you open Peacock, get your own account," and I stopped responding. Aunt Melinda is a particularly vindictive person, so I think that's why she didn't respond directly to me after that. Later on, I got a call from my dad asking me what had happened, and I had to explain. He wasn't mad per se, but wasn't exactly proud. Here's everyone's position. Aunt Melinda wants me to apologize and change my profile pic. Uncle Jerry says I should consider doing it for Aunt Melinda and the boys. Dad says that I have a point and that it's my prerogative, but says there will be an impact. Maria says that since I'm the one paying for the account, I have the final say. Mom told me I wasn't in the wrong at all, and I should change my password and sign out of all devices that aren't mine. I am mentally at a stalemate personally. Should I give this up? Should I just change it? Do you think it'll blow over? Am I the jerk? Not the jerk, but wow. You're giving Aunt Melinda and Uncle Jerry free access to Peacock. If they don't want Five Nights at Freddy's avatar grinning gruesomely at them, then they need to buy their own account. Technically, because they're using your account, they're stealing. Peacock would prefer that they pay for their own account and not ride on yours. That's why Netflix stopped allowing sharing. Good luck. My husband quit his job and now he just plays video games all day. My husband, 37 male, and I, 35 female, have been married for 9 years and we have 2 kids who are 5 and 8. Before we got married, we had a conversation about what we wanted from each other and what some of our main goals were. 2 of our biggest goals were that he wanted a stay-at-home wife when we had kids and I wanted a small homestead. He never wanted me to work and I agreed, and he agreed we could have a small homestead. I used my savings to buy our house, which had 5 acres of land on it, so that we wouldn't have to rent as he didn't have anything saved up at the time. Keep that in mind because it will come up later. I had also bought all kinds of seeds to plant and chickens. After about 3 months, I became pregnant with our first son and everything seemed wonderful. Fast forward 4 years later and I'm pregnant with our daughter and I'm selling our vegetables and flowers and eggs, etc. from our homestead and began to make some cash on the side. My husband thought it was great and would make jokes about how now he can relax. After I had our daughter, he started complaining about how he wanted to be home more to spend time with us and to help with the homestead, so I suggested he work part-time. He worked part-time for 2 years, then quit his job altogether. But the 2nd year, he barely helped me with our homestead and instead played a lot of video games, which was fine. I was used to doing the homestead on my own and he still worked part-time, so it wasn't a big deal at the time. He then quits his job and for 1 year does nothing. We argued almost every day. He drank almost every day and did nothing but play video games and have bonfires with his friends on our property for an entire year. I've worked hard to get our land where it needed to be, and I've started a flower business and beekeeping for honey, which has been going strong for the past year, which has made us more money and is the biggest reason why he completely quit his job. At this point, we've been married for 7 years. I ended up sitting down with him and having a conversation on why he doesn't help me and his behavior of drinking every day. But he said he was just taking a break and that I owed him for all the time he paid the bills and I was at home apparently living it up. I explained to him that even though I didn't work, I still contributed to our home. He had a home-cooked meal almost every day and I worked hard on the land and in home, plus took care of our kids and bought our house, so it wasn't as if I did nothing. He became irate with me and started saying that I was a nagging jerk and I was literally speechless as he had never spoke to me this way before. Fast forward another year and he's doing the same stuff, only his best friend from multiple states away calls him and tells him that he's moving 20 minutes away from us. His friend starts coming over almost every day, only he starts talking to my husband about his behavior. And my husband starts hearing his best friend compliment me on our garden and flowers, etc. And my husband begins getting irritated over it. And when his friend isn't around, he mocks him in front of me and starts accusing me of liking him. I told him that it seemed as he was projecting his own feelings as he's done nothing for this family for the past 2 years and that I've never cheated on him and if he didn't want his friend over, then he should talk to him about it. He said no and that it was my fault. Fast forward 4 months. It's been 9 years now and I'm at the end of my rope. His drinking has only become worse. His friends and family have tried talking with him, and he absolutely hates me and feels like I ruined his life. He calls me his goody two-shoes wife, and until now I haven't given up on him, but I just can't keep going like this. His best friend made a pass at me and told me he would take care of me and that my husband has turned into a bum. I told him no, and that even if I divorced him, that I would never turn around and date his friend, and which I told my husband about. A few nights ago, my husband had a bonfire party as it was his birthday. He got wasted, and I caught him kissing one of his other friends' wives, and his best friend and him got into a physical fight over it. His best friend told him he wasn't man enough for me, and they fought again. My husband began yelling and calling me his perfect goody two-shoes wife with her perfect sourdough bread and her perfect this and perfect that. I explained to him that I'm not perfect and I don't understand why he says this. He screamed at me and told me everything was my fault and that I ruin everything. He made such a huge scene with all of our friends there, and I made him a homemade carrot cake as it was his favorite, and he smashed it. After the party was over, he ended up waking up our son with his yelling, and our son came up to him and yelled at him to stop, but my husband wouldn't. I tried calming my husband down and telling him to stop yelling in front of our kid and to open his eyes, thinking that would get him to stop, and my son looked at him and yelled that he hated him. My husband became quiet and looked down at him and then looked at me and said that I was now turning his own son against him. I put him back to bed and told him that sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, but that everything was going to be okay, and I cuddled with him until he fell asleep. My husband argued with me some more, said that I emasculated him, and passed out on the kitchen floor. All I've tried to do is my best. I don't drink, I dress modestly, I cook and clean, and I'm called a goody two-shoes by my husband, and for some reason, I feel bad about it. I feel like it's my fault. Maybe I should have told him no years ago when he wanted to stop working, but he's a grown man. I don't know what to do or how to go further, but I can't keep living like this, and I can't make him do anything. Am I a stick in the mud and not fun anymore? I don't know, and he's got me looking in the mirror. Maybe I'm too serious. Our kids are noticing now, and they can't start thinking this is normal because it's not. I don't even know who he is anymore. Did me making money from our homestead emasculate him? Am I going to turn into a statistic single mom now? Probably. It sucks because no one will want their family apart, but I feel that there's nothing else I can do, and I feel therapy will be needed afterwards because I'm doubting myself. This morning, he left to one of his friends' houses and said that if I tried divorcing him, that no one would want me, and that he would take half of everything, and that I would be forced to sell our home and business. But we signed a prenup, and I think he forgot about that. But still, who says that to the person they love? I feel so depleted. You're not the jerk. I would seek out a lawyer just in case, because your relationship sounds finished. It's sad he can't see what he has. I would love a woman like you. But relationships are work, and both parties need to work on it together. Best of luck. Am I the jerk for not including my son's adopted kid in my will? My wife and I are in our 60s. We're thinking of retiring soon, and we're trying to get our finances and everything we own in order. For example, we're finally selling our old house because it's too big and we don't need it. We want to live in a quieter place and a smaller house. We have 3 kids who are all adults by now. Each of our kids have their own kids as well. We have a daughter with 1 kid, a son with 2, and another son with 2 biological kids and a stepdaughter. Our youngest son was married. About 10 or so years ago, he cheated on his wife and they got divorced. He cheated with his current wife, then he adopted her daughter. We want to divide our estate between our kids and our grandkids. We had a family gathering to talk about some of these things, especially the house, in case any of our kids wanted to buy it themselves. Our son got very angry when he heard that we were cutting off his adopted kid from the will. We told him she's not our family, and we don't support his life choices and how he ruined his family. He told us to stop holding a grudge for something that happened years ago and accept the kid or cut him and his family off. My wife and I think that his new wife and the kid are living proof of him ruining his family. Do you think we're wrong in this? She is a kid, and he's right that she's his, but does that automatically make her our family? He said we're treating his wife and daughter poorly, and we're acting like jerks towards a kid. The stepdaughter and the adopted daughter are the same girl. My son married her mother, then adopted her. She was 1 or 2 years old when my son and her mother started their relationship. We don't see or talk to each other often, only at family gatherings. They live in another state. She doesn't call us her grandparents. What each of our kids is getting are family heirlooms and not money. All the money will be distributed between our grandkids in our will to hopefully help them get their education paid for. My son doesn't have contact with his ex-wife or his biological kids. He cut them off and didn't even want to pay child support. My wife and I helped our daughter-in-law and our grandkids. To make it clear, what my son is getting from us is some photos and items from his early childhood that we kept. It's essentially trash, but we like to look at them every once in a while to remember our kids' childhoods. He isn't getting money or jewelry. I'm getting a lot of comments here. For those who wonder if the girl could actually be biologically my son's daughter, I don't know, and it doesn't make a difference to me or my wife. For those who say that love should be unconditional, I disagree. Love is always conditional to the bare minimum to maintain a bond. That's my opinion. Yes, my son's 2 biological kids, the ones he had with his first wife, are in the will. Our grandkids are getting some heirlooms too. The things we're giving to our son aren't things that our other 2 kids would want. For those who are saying that I would neglect a kid adopted by my son under different circumstances, no. This is all about the circumstances in which this girl and my son's new wife came into the family. I don't care if she's adopted or biological, it'll be the same for me. The circumstances in which my son cheated, which is bad enough, and proceeded to kick his family out and abandon them are the reason why neither my wife, me, or the rest of the family has a good relationship with the 3 of them. My 2 other kids agree with us, and they aren't close to their brother either. Not the jerk. It's your money and you get to decide how it's split. I do think it's unfair though to exclude the kid and not your son. After all, he's the one that nuked his previous family, not the kid. I'd personally write him out and include the kid, but that's me. So let me get this straight. You don't support your son's life choices and how he ruined his family, yet you give him an inheritance? And not his adopted daughter? Because of what your adult son has done? Your money, your choice. But honestly, you're the jerk because of how you treat this kid who had nothing to do whatsoever with her adoptive dad. It's not just about the inheritance. The way you write about her makes you a jerk. My wife and I think that his new wife and the kid are living proof of him ruining his family. Don't get me wrong, your son is a major jerk for cheating. But in my opinion, you are as much of a jerk by blaming the kid and treating her differently only because she reminds you of what your son did. You act as if you were a victim in this whole story. Poor us. This kid is a constant reminder of how our son that we raised acted badly towards his wife. Am I the jerk for asking my sister, what did you expect, after her husband left her for a younger woman? I'm 48 female. My sister Caroline, who's 45, has spent the past 20 years bragging that because she's 10 years younger than her husband, Ethan, who's 55, that by the time she hits 40 plus, Ethan's love drive will have plummeted too low to pursue others, and the 20-somethings won't want to date a man who's past 35. Ethan was 34, and my sister a week from turning 24 when they first got together officially. At the time, 34-year-old Ethan was a newly minted senior VP with a 35-year-old wife, Emma, and a 4-year-old daughter. Ethan told her that Emma became a sanctimonious mommy type after she gave birth, stopped waking up at 5 a.m. to exercise, wouldn't hook up with him anymore, and became a negative nagging shrew. Ethan physically left Emma for Caroline, but it was Emma who filed for divorce. Caroline was angry because she claims Emma was the one who filed for divorce, yet she's the one who became bitter and hostile after the divorce happened. For a while, I sympathized with Caroline because everybody criticized her relationship. However, it felt like Caroline and Ethan made the fact that Ethan was punching above his weight in terms of having a younger woman their entire personality as a couple and individuals. I think it's because Ethan was poor into his early 20s and said he thought the best he could ever do was the sort of attractive, after a few beers, truck stop waitress. Back then, it was much easier for somebody with no connections to rise, and Ethan did. Then after his divorce, and before marrying Caroline, Ethan started his own firm and began making even more money. Caroline signed a prenup, but maintained that it would never be used. Caroline laughed when Emma told her there's always younger women out there, and Caroline replied that she asked Ethan, and he said a 10-year age gap is gigantic to him, and that Caroline was the combination of somebody who he'd always see as much younger, while also being able to relate to her. Caroline would also say, in a place where her stepdaughter could hear her saying it, that Emma has aged so much faster than Ethan, and that she's likely regularly mistakenly referred to as her daughter's grandmother. Well, all this about, he will always see me as much younger, disappeared a few years ago. Caroline started becoming very withdrawn and miserable. She'd act out in ways, but Ethan would not even bat an eye to her antics. Then suddenly, just before the holidays, Ethan picked a fight by telling her her hand mannerisms are annoying and left the house. She found out he was living with a 24-year-old assistant he hired with no experience. Now, despite texts saying their 3 kids miss him and she doesn't deserve this, he's filed for divorce. Caroline came to me crying and would go on rants about how Ethan will realize the 24-year-old sees him as a grandpa. I rolled my eyes and said, "What did you expect?" And that I had no sympathy when for years I had to listen to her saying age gap detractors are bitter losers and that Ethan will always see her as a prize. I also told her that 10 years is barely the starting point when it comes to trophy wife relationships. She got angry and screamed, "Are you calling me old when Ethan's pushing 60?" and left. Am I the jerk? Now she knows why he really left his first wife. Not the jerk for saying what you said. She forgot the old saying, if he's willing to cheat with you, he'll cheat on you. She should have known this day was coming. Not the jerk, but never date an older man who's married. He will always look for a younger version. It's a bummer your sister didn't learn this, but now she knows. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Not the jerk. Okay, I'm ready for the downvotes. So before I retired, I was in a C-suite position with a very high salary. I had been married for 8 years and we had 2 daughters together. I never cheated on my wife, but I did divorce her when I realized how strong the feelings were that I was developing for my secretary, who was in her mid-20s while I was 48. So was it the fact that I wanted a younger woman? No, her youthful beauty was just a plus. It was simply the fact that my secretary treated me with respect and looked up to me as the leader. While my wife, all she did was nag and complain, and always had a terrible attitude with me. I told her several times that if she didn't change this, I would leave her. I was at work all day being treated like a king from this woman who actually saw value in me. Then I'd go home to my wife who treated me like dirt. When I divorced her and married my secretary, family on both sides did not approve, and I know they all thought I was a monster. But now, 10 years later, we are still happily married and we have 3 kids of our own. Guess what? She still treats me with the love and respect that my ex-wife never could. My ex has even admitted over the years that she knows she wasn't treating me the way that she should have been. And she knows that's why I left. Anybody who's being treated like dirt in their relationship has the right to leave, whether male or female, and regardless of how much you make. All this to say, when you're married to a man worth millions, make sure you treat him with respect, because if you don't, someone else will. I heard my in-laws talking about getting my wife back together with her ex. I, 35 male, have been with Abby, 35 female, for 13 years now. Every day that goes by, I love her more and more, and we're even expecting our first baby. For the holidays, we always stay 2 to 3 months visiting my wife's family, but the problem is that this year, all the family was really excited saying that Alan is coming. In all the years in the family, I never heard of an Alan, and my wife didn't even care about it. So I thought it was just some cousin. But the famous Alan was my wife's ex and first love. The man lives in Europe, but Abby's family still have contact with him and even invited the man to the house now that he's in the country. I tried to get along with Alan, but the man just ignores me and takes every chance to get closer with my wife, making jokes or talking about the past. I didn't take it personally because I don't want to look jealous, but lately he's been coming over every day to visit the family, and Abby's family started comparing his accomplishments to mine. They're all big fans of Alan, and I honestly feel jealous of that because they're treating him much better than me. 2 days ago, I heard my mother-in-law and brother-in-law talking about how nice it would have been for Abby to have stayed with Alan because he's a smart man. What hurt me the most was hearing my brother-in-law say that he can try to get Alan and Abby back together, and my mother-in-law just laughed, saying that it would be good to go on a trip to Europe every year and not to the countryside with the peasant, talking about me because I live on a farm with my wife, just because she always dreamed to live in that kind of quiet environment. In fact, now that I'm no longer blindfolded, I'm starting to notice how my brother-in-law makes too many comments to my wife about how great Alan is, although Abby never says kind things about Alan, and I think she even treats him like he's a kid. I don't feel comfortable being here knowing that they see me as a dumb peasant, and it's horrible to see how they try to include Alan in the family when they still treat me like I'm just a casual boyfriend of Abby's. But my wife only sees her family these months of the year, and I don't want to ruin that or put that kind of stress on her since she's pregnant. I feel like I'm in some kind of a romantic comedy, but I'm in the role of the bad husband the protagonist leaves for the handsome CEO. What does your wife say? OP. My wife just ignores Alan, and when my brother-in-law says those things, Abby just says, if you like Alan so much, then you go be with him. and the conversation ends. When I found out he's her ex, she just said, "Oh yes, I dated him for 2 months when I finished high school," and made a disgusted face. I couldn't ask for more information because she has been really tired with the pregnancy and I don't want to stress her out anymore. They're this pressed for a guy she dated for 2 months over a decade ago? Was Alan a family friend or something? It just feels weird to me that they like him this much, having known you for 13 years. Have they always disliked you? OP. From what I heard, he lived in the same neighborhood, but they were never close until Abby started dating him. When he moved to Europe, the family still had contact with him through Facebook and WhatsApp, and some members of the family even stay in his house when they take trips to Europe, so it seems the aunts and cousins are really close with him. They always made jokes about our farm life, and I know my mother-in-law hates that Abby has gone to live so far away from them. She always hides her dislike for me, although I can feel the cold treatment she always gives me. My brother-in-laws always made it obvious that they didn't like me for taking their older sister away. The rest of the family treats me well or just normal, but Alan is really charismatic. Plus, they're all really extroverted people, and I'm more on the quiet side, so I think it's easier for them to like him more. Update. After making this post and reading the comments, I decided to talk with Abby about what I heard. We were in our room, and I talked about what her mother and brother said as calmly as possible. But the moment I finished telling her everything, Abby just kissed my forehead and ran with her pregnant belly out of the bedroom to literally yell at everyone in the living room. No one spoke besides an aunt who tried to justify them by saying they were just making jokes, to which I replied that they were uncomfortable and disgusting jokes. At some point, Abby told her mother something like, "Whether you like it or not, I'm married to this man. I'm going to have this baby with him and many more, so shut up and bear with it." Then my wife yelled at her brothers and went with them to talk in private. My brother-in-laws talked with me and admitted that they were only doing that because they believed I was forcing Abby to marry and live on a farm far away from the family when it was actually Abby's idea to get married in private and live on the farm. So all of these years, it had just been a misunderstanding. The 3 brothers apologized to me and were really embarrassed about their behavior, saying they only invited Alan to mess with me. After that, most of the family members apologized to us. Abby told everyone that she doesn't want to see Alan in the house anymore while we're here. She's not going to forbid them to talk with him, but doesn't want to see him near her because it's uncomfortable. Mother-in-law tried to complain, but Abby just said, "Shut up, Mom," and left the living room with me. In private, Abby confessed to me that she also felt uncomfortable, but since Alan is a friend of the family, she preferred not to say anything other than throw passive-aggressive comments at him. For example, after New Year's, we were all eating, and Alan felt her belly without asking first, to which my wife said, "Do it again and I'll hurt you." So he never did it again. Abby even said that she had actually talked with Alan that she dislikes when people do that, but Alan said she was overreacting and left her talking alone. I feel really stupid for not noticing how uncomfortable my wife was feeling because after that, she was avoiding Alan around the house and she said that it was because she was tired from her pregnancy. Just out of curiosity, I asked her why she broke up with Alan if he's such a cool man, because I'll admit it, he's really charismatic, and Abby told me that he always treated her like he thought he knew everything and explained things that she had already knew every time they talked. Abby never felt the need of talking about that relationship because it wasn't really relevant, and she sees me as her first love and not Alan. I apologized to Abby for not noticing how uncomfortable she was and only looking at my own feelings without talking about it as a couple, and Abby also apologized for the same. We promised to communicate this kind of thing to each other no matter what. Yesterday, we went on a date together, and when we came back, my mother-in-law looked very unfriendly, but she apologized to my wife, to which Abby said she should apologize to me. So mother-in-law and I talked for a while alone, and although I'm still upset, we promised to at least be civil with each other for Abby and the baby. We decided the next time to stay in one of the hotel rooms while we're here. Even if it's a 3-hour drive, it would be better for us to be comfortable, and 3 months in my in-laws' house was always really tiring, so it's something we should have done earlier. For now, Alan is no longer in the picture because yesterday I got his number to send a message clarifying why he can't come back to the house and why I don't want him near my wife. The man just blocked me without answering. I guess he understood, but if he didn't, I don't have any problem talking to him about it face to face. P.S. Alan came back to the country because he divorced his wife and he's flirting with women, so it seems he thought it was a great idea to try and flirt with my pregnant wife. My Karen neighbor steals my package and really regrets it. I, 30 female, am a hobbyist. and as such, I order additions to my collection that are delivered via post or courier. Now, my entitled neighbor, 28 female, moved into her house roughly 3 months ago with her 9-year-old son. I was close friends with the people who lived there previously, and I had them listed as trusted neighbors to deliver my packages to if I'm not home. Since she moved in, I have changed that with the post services, but unfortunately, there are a few of the delivery people who have not had the information. Sadly, I've had a few parcels delivered to the entitled neighbor, and when I've gone to collect my parcels, she has denied knowledge or has given me an already open package and used the excuse that her son accidentally opened it. So last week I had a delivery coming in with several special and expensive additions to add to my collection and decided to work from home to make sure I received my package. I started work at my usual time of 9 a.m., having double-checked that my doorbell was set to its loudest setting and got on with my work. I have a tendency to get absorbed into my work, so by the time I realized that it was 12:30 p.m. and my package was supposed to have been delivered before then, I started to worry. The first thing I did was check my emails to see if I had been notified of a delay. My heart sank when I saw the message saying that my package had been delivered to my selected neighbor. I left my house and went straight to my neighbor's house to knock on her door. When she opened the door, she gave me a look that said she was definitely not happy to see me. Me. Hi, entitled neighbor. I just had a notification that my package has been delivered here. May I please have it? Karen. There's nothing here. Me. I was emailed by the courier service that they delivered it to your address. My neighbor was obviously getting angry. I just told you there's nothing here for you. Me. Please, can you… Before I could finish the sentence, she slammed the door in my face. I was obviously annoyed and knocked on her door again, and I waited, but she completely ignored me for at least 10 minutes. Feeling frustrated, I went back home and called the courier service, wanting the delivery person to come back and make sure I got my package back. I was on hold for quite a while before I finally got through to someone. Just as I was telling the service operator what was happening, my doorbell rang several times. Then there was repeated loud banging coming from my front door, followed by the bell again. I asked the operator to hold on for a moment while I checked who was at my door. I opened the door, and there was entitled Mom, red-faced, with her son who was crying. Karen. There's a huge spider loose in my house because of you. Yes, I collect tarantulas, true spiders, and lots of other inverts. At first, I was scared that entitled Mom might have hurt my new tarantula, but I couldn't keep my sarcasm out of my voice. Me. Oh, so you did get my package after all. Yes, and now there's a huge spider in my living room. You need to get it out of my house now. Me. One moment. I closed my door and talked to the operator who had heard everything. Since I had already told them what was in the package, they were laughing down the phone. I told them I'd have to go rescue my spider from the crazy Karen. I grabbed a catch cup and a paintbrush from my spider room and opened my front door again. Entitled Mom was still stood there looking furious, and her son was now completely sobbing. Me. Okay, show me where it is. Karen. I hate you. I couldn't help but smile as Karen took me into her house and showed me to her living room where my package was on the floor next to a knife that had obviously been used to open it and the container that the new tarantula had been shipped in. Thankfully, the tarantula was simply hiding under her sofa, and I was able to get it to come out with my handy paintbrush and caught it in the catch cup. I put it back into its shipping container, then picked up my package. Me. Got her. Karen. Finally. Now get that thing out of my house. It terrified my son, and I'm arachnophobic. Don't you dare get any more of those things. Me. Excuse me? You're the one that opened my package that was mine, even after I came to collect it. Karen looked shocked. Yes. Well, my son likes to open packages, and I thought it was another one of those gadgets that you get. He loves to play with them. I laughed as she obviously hadn't realized that she had just admitted to stealing my previous packages. FYI, I work for a company that sends me product prototypes. Me. So you have been stealing from me. I swear, if you ever open one of my packages again, I'm getting the police involved and having you charged with theft. Before she could say anything else, I pushed past her and I went back home. Thankfully, the tarantula was unharmed and was happily settled into her new enclosure. Since then, I've contacted every courier service in my area and demanded that they never leave anything at her address again. There has been one incident where a package from work was delivered to her, but as soon as I knocked on her door, she just handed me the unopened box and closed the door in my face. much to her son's disappointment if his yelling was anything to go by. Moral of the story, don't open someone else's package. It just might contain giant spiders. I lost $100,000 in 4 weeks. Need advice. I'm 36 and not in debt other than my mortgage. I have an 8-month-old daughter and I'm really scared. I've been gambling somewhat randomly since college. I'm well over $300,000 now in losses, most of which was my money, and now $100,000 just in the last 4 weeks. And every time I went back, it was to recover from the day before, but the numbers kept adding up. My wife doesn't know a thing. The money is mine, $100,000 gifted by my dad, who is completely against even wasting a dollar, and who put his trust in me to use it wisely for family, success, and paying down my mortgage. I'm a terrible son. I feel shame and regret to even look him in the eye, knowing what I've done in a matter of weeks took many years for him to make. I still feel I need to go back to get it back. My wife doesn't know yet. Key word. It'll be a very ugly conversation when she finds out. Maybe even walk out on me. Who knows? That kind of money isn't easy to hide, right? I feel depressed, broken, failure. I just want this $100,000 back, and it's too much to lose. A $10,000 loss turned into $15,000, and then plus $7,500, and just downhill from there. Lost all $22,500 and kept going back, losing $10,000 to $15,000 per day at times. What should I do? Talk to my wife? She'll lose it. And if my dad finds out, I'm afraid he won't be able to take it, and I'll be the reason for what happens to him. I'm such a bad son. Update. Something took over me. I can't explain it because I don't know myself what happened. Losing money is evil. It will make you do things out of control. The fight to recover losses kept turning into a losing battle over and over again. So here I am, rock bottom. In just 2 months, I've lost everything in my bank account, $170,000, and also took out $10,000 from credit cards and another $10,000 from personal line of credit. So I'm officially in a gambling debt of $20,000. Now it's a total of $190,000, and it's a harsh reality. What does it feel like? Butterflies in your stomach. The earth just slipped from under your feet, and you feel light, but there's a weight pushing you down. Disbelief because the gambling mind cannot accept what happened, but then reality kicks in because the bank is proof. Shame, disgust, frown, but pretending to smile. Wife doesn't know yet of my situation, so I'm lying to my partner. My 9-month-old daughter, whom I now feel like I've ruined a comfortable life for alongside my wife. I first posted when I had lost $100,000 and everyone told me to stop and tell the truth. I continued to go back over and over because I could not accept it. Bottom line, accept it now, or you're going to be where I am. Now over $500,000 in losses, out of which $190,000 is very recent. Update. Life feels depressing. I love playing with my daughter, and every time I look at her, the thought crosses my mind. Why did I blow my money at the casino when I should have been using it for her future? College, car, real estate, necessities, the list goes on. Have not told my wife yet, nor has she poked into the bank account that would show nothing but withdrawals in the thousands for the last 2.5 months. Losing strength, stress is getting to me. I picked up debt to gamble and I lost everything. Casinos are temporarily shut down effective today, so good thing that I can't go to do it again. I need to tell my wife, but I don't have the courage because I can't explain how I didn't learn my lesson and ended up losing $200,000. I don't know if she'll understand, and I'm afraid of the shame this brings once everyone in the family finds out. My self-esteem is gone. I'm a wreck and I'm stressed to no end. Update. Game over. I kept going back to recover big losses, and now I'm sitting here after literally 4 months exactly. $200,000 missing, $75,000 in debt between credit card and line of credit. Barely any money left except to survive. I have a family who doesn't know any of this. I haven't told my significant other, and she's on a trip with my young one. I thought I could take the opportunity to go back to the casino to recover, but that just didn't happen. Instead, I found myself pulling money from my creditors just to gamble and lose it all again. I know my performance at work has been affected. I'm a completely different person physically in the mirror, and the stress has taken that smile and brightness. I'm so sick of this, and I'm going to get better. This is day 1, and I have a plan. 1. Use a HELOC to pay off the expensive debt. 2. Refinance the home for $100,000 when the mortgage is up for renewal in August, and pay off the HELOC. 3. Tell my wife and hope that she can support my recovery instead of walking away. The news, I understand, will be a lot to stomach. 4. Get healthy and back in shape. 5. Cut down on spending and going out to eat. 6. Find a side hustle and a part-time job. And 7. Attend meetings if I can to help me with my problem. I wish I could reverse the last 4 months. I can't, so now I'll spend the next decade trying to recover. My life is a wreck, and I can't do this anymore. Update. I did it again. Can't stop thinking of my wife and my family whom I let down. They don't have a clue as to what I've done. I gambled away my own money and some inheritance. I picked up $70,000 in debt, and I dipped into my wife's account, and I took another $50,000. I'm now walking out of this miserable place, the casino, that has taken everything from me mentally and financially in the last 6 months. $325,000 lost, and the same amount in prior years. I'm $600,000 plus in losses, and there is only one way to stop. I have in my hand a win today, willpower, backed up by a self-exclusion from banning indefinitely. Now the truth must be told to my wife, and I need to protect my family from me. I don't know if I will have a family should my wife not be supportive, but at least I've done what I never thought I would do. Update. It's done. She knows. It came out over the phone because I was at work. Bawled out like crazy. Said sorry she's upset and not responding to texts now, giving her some space. If I go home, either she's there or gone, who knows. Work sucks right now. I want to get out ASAP, but I can't yet. It will be a hectic night, maybe a limited conversation if there is one. I finally got this off my chest, and although nervous, I feel good because it was slowly getting to me with depression and horrible thoughts. Update. Ultimate rock bottom is not money lost, it's trust. For those of you that are single, you still lose trust. My wife, who I don't blame, has opened up to her family and to mine. I feel humiliated, regretful, wish this had never happened, but I also think it's for the better and recovery. Time will heal, but the healing has to start. For those who have yet to share with family about your problems, do so. It's hard at first, stress level really rises in the moment, but in the end, it is what it is. Consequences of actions. I choose to be a better person, finally rid myself of this problem and all others that caused pain to my loved ones. The years of respect I earned, lost. I feel terrible, but I deserve this. Going to move on now and put this past behind me. News will spread like wildfire and humiliation will continue. In the end, it is what it is, as there's no rewinding time, but changing the future. Good luck. I'm proud to own my mistakes, and for me, that's a huge win. January 24th. So much for the ban. Urged to reinstate, and I did. I won $40,000 from just $3,000. Put it all back, plus $30,000 gradual losses of $5,000 to $6,000 after putting back $20,000 the next day. $30,000 debt. No way to repay. All the finances are now handled by my wife. What do I do? Last time was a family crisis. Now I have no choice but to turn to my parents again and say bail me out one last time. The problem is the last time I should have learned my lesson. I really don't know what to do. I can't tell anyone about this or else I'm doomed and I will really hurt my loved ones. If this comes out however it may, I'm definitely getting divorced. I got a wife and kid who I don't want to lose. I want to tell my parents that I had this loan from the last event that turned my whole life upside down, but I fear this will put them through heck and back, knowing they can't trust me. I make good money, but I can't use it now that my partner controls the finances. February 5th. I did it again, and now I've got another $40,000 debt, and no way to repay considering the situation I'm in where my partner controls the finances. I can't let anyone know about this or it's going to be a huge problem. I just can't believe I put myself through this again. I don't even have money left from the last round of stupidity. No more access to loans, and I've already borrowed from friends and family. Now I'm sitting with $500 in my account right now, with bills on the way. This sucks, and I just wish that I could end this financial stress. February 27th. I'm struggling to find the courage to tell my spouse that I messed up a second time and how miserable of a husband and father I am. I worked so hard to dump our money into a casino. I already got my ultimatum the last time after massive losses. Here I am again, reliving the past, except this time it's all out of debt. My head is gonna explode, I'm super stressed and I don't know what to do. I kept thinking, what got me started with all of this? I work hard to earn the money, but money doesn't hold great value to me. Why? Well, I think I have an answer. Throughout my younger years, my pops never let me manage my finances. He always checked my accounts, always wanted to be the one to manage, always led me to believe what he got is mine one day. He's not rich, just normal. I never felt in control, and I never learned to manage well because it was just money. But I see young people now are so cautious of their finances. I'm not sure if what I'm thinking is wrong. I really don't want to blame my parents, but I wish if I had had the freedom to manage my earnings and expenses in my younger years, I wouldn't chase easy money. June 17th. Life is in complete turmoil. Unhappy, depressed, mentally messed up, stressed to no end, regret, unfaithfulness with spouse, fake smiles, hidden cries, you name it, because it's by far the worst list. Numb to value of money between four walls of the devil's house. Outside, the reality hits hard. Now I'm sitting back thinking, why did I do it? Approaching 40, which gives me the chills. August 5th, just confessed to my wife. I'm heartbroken. Don't know what's going to happen now. I deserve any and all punishment again at this point. I couldn't avoid coming clean because I just couldn't live a double life anymore. I hope I come out stronger for our family. August 18th. Today, I did it for the second time. I feel so humiliated again. I had my family walk out the door, and I'm here all alone. More than money, I lost love and I lost trust. October 14th. Wife left with the kid. Debt in over my head. Completely destroyed myself financially because I'd have to sell my house to repay it. Once again, the house has won, and we continue to think that we can beat them. What I don't get is how I let this get to where it is without thinking of the consequences, and to make it worse, I had ample time to dwell on repeat mistakes. I'm a wreck, and I just wish that I could make it out on top. Restart at 40. That's where I've ended up. I've actually never been to a casino before, and after reading this story, I'm never gonna go to one. Me neither, Karen. Me neither. Am I the jerk for telling my 18-year-old daughter to either sue for child support or get out of my house? I'm 40, female. My 18-year-old daughter, Ava, dropped out of high school after getting pregnant by her then boyfriend, who is 19. Ava will be 19 soon, has no job, and a 10-month-old baby. Her boyfriend, Andrew, moved from Jacksonville, Florida to Miami for college. He never actually broke up with Ava, but instead told her that they were still together and even went as far as to leave a sleeping bag and other toiletries in her room to show her that they were essentially a family. Now he has changed his number and blocked Ava on social media after accusing her of cheating, so this could not be his baby. He ignores all communication offering for him to prove he's not the dad. I've been handling Ava with kid gloves, but here's the situation. I'm a single mom, and Ava is my second child of 3. My older daughter, who's 20, female, lives at home, but works weekends as a barista and just got a job working 3 hours a week doing QuickBooks for a church, all while studying to be an ultrasound tech. She pays $150 a month in rent, and if she wants new clothes or to go out to eat, that's on her. My youngest son is 10, and it's obviously my responsibility to pay for what my ex's support payments won't cover. However, Ava seems to think that because she technically can qualify as a high school super senior, that she is essentially still a high schooler who can come home and expect that her food, shelter, and new clothes, plus fun expenses are covered, no questions asked. And that the biggest problem with Andrew going silent is the fact that he's a jerk and some college girl has stolen him away. That's not adult thinking, and I'm getting worried that Ava will never get it if I don't spell it out for her. I told her that she either has to show me concrete proof that she's working towards a GED, and then if she passes some sort of useful certification, in which case I'll let her stay for free, or she needs to get a job. Ask her sister if any restaurants are hiring, if a gym needs a front desk clerk, whatever. She told me she would rather just do high school. I said okay, but either way, employed or not, Andrew is the dad, and just because he's 19 doesn't mean he should get off any easier than a 39-year-old who got his wife pregnant and then left. But Ava got angry, and either Andrew or his siblings got it into her head that if she filed, he would lose his scholarship or be forced out of college, and that the judge would probably say that Andrew cannot make any money in college, so she gets no support. I told her that she does not understand how much diapers and everything else costs, and if she does not file for support, she's about to find out because I'm kicking her out with $100 and that's it. And then if she needs diapers, she can go to the grocery store and see what the total comes to. Am I the jerk? I also printed out flyers about government social programs and taped it to her door. Edit. I'd like to add that my daughter considered not having the baby, but Andrew, whose family is Mormon, said that that was not an option, and that even doing research on the matter would require her to repent. His family is Mormon? The play might be to speak to their church about the upright young man who's abandoning the baby that he fathered out of marriage. That might put more pressure on them to settle. Exactly. I live in a Mormon state, and OMG, if you went to their deacon, I can guarantee you he and his family would be ripped a new one. If they didn't correct the problem, they might even be shunned. I'm in a small town though, so the severity of the consequences will be different, I'm sure. Not the jerk. Your daughter made an adult choice, now she needs to stand up and be an adult. She needs to support her baby one way or another. You aren't, nor should you be a de facto parent for her and her baby daddy. You're offering her very reasonable compromises and solutions here. I'd also have her apply for WIC, food stamps, etc., because once she does, the court will usually, in most states, file for child support for her. It sounds like the father's trying to sweep his responsibilities under the rug and hope that they'll go away. I'm not familiar with the law, but it sounds like your daughter has a good case to claim full custody, which it sounds like she already has, and/or receive child support. The father can't have it both ways. It's not fair for your daughter and you to be solely responsible for the situation that they both equally put themselves in. Your daughter is young, so she may need some guidance. List out what you need her to do, and if they're not met by this date, then she's gotta go. Sounds like the dude's parents may not even know about the baby. You're the jerk. You're considering a plan that escalates too fast. Don't punish her with an eviction for not choosing good decisions. Her baby will just end up being taken from her. Lay out her responsibilities for her and start obligating her to pay for her own kids' expenses. Christmas gift revenge. This was about 23 years ago. My husband was lousy at giving gifts. He would get what he wanted for himself. That year, I came home to a large box wrapped up about 10 days before Christmas, and he said it was for me. He was so excited. Mind you, we've always been pretty broke, so we, or should I say I, always bought for our kids and his greedy family, mother-in-law's demands. We always did without. For some reason, I wasn't that excited about this gift, intuition. Well, Christmas Eve comes and we open gifts. He gets all excited, telling me that I'm going to love this present. I open the box to find a shop vac. We had hardwood and linoleum, so I always swept and mopped and had no need for it. He told me that this is wonderful because it cleans up the garage, his domain, even picks up water, and he said it worked great because he already tried it before wrapping it up. I was upset. He bought it for himself. I would have been happy with a $5 necklace that turned my neck green. That night, I wouldn't even go to bed with him. He comes into the living room where I was laying down, and he told me to come to bed. I told him I wouldn't because I couldn't look at him. He then tells me how I was extremely selfish because gifts were to be what we as a family could use, not what we want. I laid there all night and plotted my revenge. I had to wait for a year, but like they say, best served cold. I kept quiet and told nobody of my plan for revenge. 50 weeks later, I found it. I wasn't even looking for it, but it was staring right at me, as to say, here I am and it's time. It was in a huge box. I quickly purchased the gift, got some wrapping paper for it, and hid it. I didn't want any sneaky peeks. Christmas Eve, while he was at work, I put the present under the tree. Took 2 rolls of cheap wrapping paper, and I put some ribbons and a bow on it. It also had a nice weight for it. We started opening gifts, and I wait a bit. Finally, his eyes light up seeing this big box and finding out that it was his. He was so excited, and I told him that this is especially bought for him. He opens the box to find a case of toilet paper. I then quoted him, "Christmas was not for what we want, but what we as a family need or could use. We all need toilet paper." He was furious. He complained to his brothers and everyone. My family and his brothers told him that he deserved the toilet paper. To this day, no husband in my family will ever buy a vacuum cleaner for their wives as gifts. Am I the jerk for disinviting my brother-in-law from Christmas because he keeps telling my son to call me by my first name? My husband has 3 brothers. Charlie and Mike are in their 30s, while Spencer is 5 years old. Spencer is their half-brother from their dad's second marriage. Their father passed shortly after Spencer was born. 2 years ago, Spencer's mother went to prison. My husband and I began fostering him. It didn't take long for him to actually feel like our son. As it was, my husband and Spencer didn't have a very brotherly relationship given the 30-year age gap. He already was more of an uncle. 6 months ago, Spencer's mom lost her parental rights. My husband and I have been working on adopting him. It should be finalized after Christmas. Spencer is so excited. He's been calling us Mama and Daddy for a little over a year now. So this is all official, not changing how we feel in our hearts. Charlie and Mike have been supportive of the whole ordeal from the most part, but we faced a road bump recently. When Spencer began calling us Mama and Daddy, Charlie found it odd. He said that we weren't his parents. I said legally, yes we are. I said he doesn't have to be Uncle Charlie if he doesn't want to be, but we are raising him. Charlie said that we're basically erasing their dad from Spencer's life. I said no, we talk about him and Spencer's biological mom often. This won't be a secret. As it is, Spencer is very smart and is aware that he only came to live with us 2 years ago. Mike and my husband have both told Charlie to let it go. I've noticed, however, that when talking to Spencer, he refers to me and my husband by our first names, or he'll say, "Ask your brother," referring to my husband, or "Go show your sister-in-law," when referring to me. Spencer is confused because he knows my husband is his brother, but he doesn't look at him like that. We've tried talking to him about it, but Charlie claimed it's force of habit. We were trying to let it go, but then one day Charlie corrected Spencer when he called me Mama and said, "No, that's Kate." Spencer got confused and said, "No, that's Mama." Charlie told him that I'm not his mother. This only upset Spencer further. I've had enough, frankly. Spencer is our son. We have him in therapy and have also asked Charlie and Mike to attend family therapy with us. Only Mike has agreed. I told my husband that I don't want Charlie at Christmas. We're hosting, if he's just going to upset Spencer and undermine our place as his parents. My husband said it's completely up to me, so I told Charlie either he stops correcting Spencer or he can't come. Now Charlie is mad and says I'm keeping his brothers from him at Christmas. I said if my husband wants, he can go visit him, and if he wants to see Spencer, he can promise to stop undermining my place. Charlie called me dramatic. Mother-in-law wants all of her boys at Christmas and said that I can put up with it for just one day. She said it's hard for her to be around Spencer, but she does it for us, so I can put up with Charlie and see his side. Am I the jerk? Edit. My husband has been advocating for Spencer and does stand up to his family. It's not just me. Who's hosting this Christmas party? You or mother-in-law? If you're hosting OP, then you can make the guest list and ignore any comments from the peanut gallery. If mother-in-law wants to spend time with Charlie, she may certainly do so, but she may do it elsewhere. Charlie needs to learn to keep his mouth shut. What your son calls you is not up to him, and it's none of his business. If Charlie doesn't behave, Charlie can't come to the party. It's that simple, not the jerk. Well, then she can host at her house. Your kid, your rules. If Charlie doesn't like it, then these are the consequences of his actions. He's the adult and needs to learn to act like one, not the jerk. Am I the jerk for not giving up a table? I took my kids out to the mall the other day. My husband took the car to work, so my brother dropped us off, and my husband was going to pick us up. We were there for a couple of hours, and the kids had loads of fun. But they're 5 and 3 and were exhausted by the time my husband had to pick us up. I was also extremely tired. I ordered them some fries, and then we sat at one of the tables in the food court. After a bit, I gave my eldest my phone to watch something while my younger one was napping in my arms. My husband was stuck in traffic, so he was going to be late by an hour, so yeah. When we first sat down, the food court was pretty empty, but it filled up fast. A young woman and her mother approached us and asked if we were done with the table. I apologized and said no. The younger lady got annoyed and said we clearly aren't eating anything and that I've been sitting at the table doing nothing for 20 minutes now. I apologized and said she could ask someone else. She then started to guilt trip me about her mother being old and tired and how my kids and I are still young, so we should be able to give up our table. I said I'm sorry, but there's nothing you could say to make me move. Please ask someone else. She then got closer and started yelling about how disrespectful and rude I'm being towards her sick mother. It was very loud and other people started looking. My oldest got scared and my younger one, who was napping, woke up upset. I immediately asked her to be quiet as she's scaring my kids. She rolled her eyes at me and said my kids are in public and aren't entitled to quiet. I just said you and your mother aren't entitled to a table either. She then got mad and said it's entirely different, but a security guard approached us. We explained what happened and he told her that she was causing a scene and she left after calling me rude and entitled. The security guard then told me that I should have just given up my table, but it's none of his business, and walked away. My husband said I did good, but his coworker that was with him privately told me I couldn't have been that tired, and that if I'm in public, I should have some awareness. He said older people need to sit down more than kids do, and definitely more than I do. Am I the jerk? Edit. No, the young lady and her mother did not have food with them. The table I was sitting at was just one small table and 2 chairs. My oldest on one seat, me and my youngest on the other. I've also been to this mall countless times for years now, and no one has ever been told to leave a table unless it's closing time. It's a popular hangout spot for teens as well. No, you had every right to stay at that table for as long as you needed to. You were a customer of the mall and food court. You purchased food, you sat down and ate. Unless there's a posted policy in the food court, you could have camped out there all day long. That woman was rude and used to getting her way. I'm so very glad you denied them. Not the jerk. Karen demands I put my dog outside on Christmas. I, 22 female, have a big cane Corso, 130 pounds. Last year, I left him with some trusted friends to visit my family for 2 days. I hated it and asked my parents to let me visit with him next year. They agreed. They got a dog over this summer, and I thought nothing of it. Yesterday, however, I got a call from my stepmom saying that their little 15-pound mix has bitten 3 people and is extremely and irrationally dog aggressive. They never socialized her or took her to a trainer because she's tiny and harmless. I said I can take my crate and keep Dude, my dog, there or have them switch out with theirs, but she said that she needs Dude to be outside. I got upset and said no. Their yard is well fenced in, and there is a small shed with heating out there, but I'm not a fan. It's 5 days of him in the cold, alone and outside. He's a house dog. He's never been and never will be an outside dog. There are no pet hotels or friends to turn to so close to Christmas. I tried making compromises, like keeping Dude in one room and just taking him out for walks, but she's refusing. She says it will upset their dog too much. I finally told her that if there's no way we can have Dude somewhere in the house, I can't go. Everyone is mad at me now, and my sister and cousin texted me saying I'm being overly dramatic. Dude is a protection breed, and a lot of them are actually kept in the yard as guardians. I understand that, but mine was never meant to be a backyard dog. I'd understand if it was summer and all, but I can't put him out in the dead of winter with temperatures below freezing. Am I the jerk for saying I won't go and for causing a scene? Not the jerk. She's tiny and harmless, and yet she bites people? And they want to have a house full of other people around her? That's just a disaster waiting to happen. Not the jerk. You offered several options. They clearly have never boarded a dog if they think you can find a facility now. Most places are booked for Christmas by the end of July. I'd skip it, and that's on them. OP. I called around, and only one place has availability, but they want $280 a night, which is insane. Plus, their reviews are horrible. Everything is solid booked, and they even have a list of people waiting in case of an opening. Am I the jerk for accidentally insulting my future daughter-in-law's infertility? I'm 64, and I have one son, Robert, with my late husband, James. Robert is engaged to Sarah, who is also 35. Last Sunday, Sarah and Robert came to my house for dinner. We were chatting, and I told them a story about James, who Sarah unfortunately never got to meet. While I was pregnant, James was very excited and insisted on putting together everything, cribs and changing tables, etc. Bless him, but my James was not much of a carpenter, and one day when I was putting Robert in his crib, the whole thing broke. I managed to catch Robert in time, so no harm done, thankfully. After the story, I made a joke along the lines of Sarah never having that problem if they have kids, because Robert actually is a carpenter. She burst into tears and asked me why I was being so cruel. I was taken aback and asked her what was wrong, as I certainly hadn't meant to upset her, and I was sorry if I had. She told me they discovered recently that Sarah is infertile and she would never be able to have kids, even with IVF. I apologized profusely and said if I had known, I would never have made a joke about it. James and I struggled with having Robert, and we were never able to give him siblings, so I felt awful that I had hurt Sarah like that. The mood was ruined after that, and Robert and Sarah decided to leave early. On Tuesday, I ran into Robert's best friend and his wife while I was out shopping. His wife is good friends with Sarah and seemed unusually cold towards me. I asked why, and she said she hadn't known I was so rude and that I should be ashamed of mocking Sarah's infertility. It turns out that the story had been spread that I viciously insulted Sarah and insinuated she shouldn't marry Robert. The story even got back to our family, and a lot of our relatives are quite upset with me. I apologized when I made the joke, but now I'm wondering if I really did overstep that badly and insult Sarah horribly. I don't want to be a bad mother-in-law, and I get along quite well with Sarah ordinarily. Am I the jerk here? Edit. I decided to answer some questions. 1. I haven't spoken to Robert about the story spreading the way it did. I thought it was best to give them space after the dinner to process Sarah's diagnosis, but a lot of commenters are saying I should ask him about it, and I think you may be right. 2. I haven't discussed future kids with her before, as my own mother-in-law was quite cruel to myself and James, especially me, since we only had Robert. James' siblings all have quite large families, and my mother-in-law was very clear about who she blamed for our lack of kids. I decided early on in Sarah and Robert's relationship that I wouldn't ask the typical questions of when would they be having kids, but I have only met Sarah's family once, so I don't know if her own relatives pressure her the way that my mother-in-law pressured me. 3. Sarah is a very lovely woman, and we have never had a big problem together before. Many commenters have said frankly rude things about her, which wasn't my intention when posting here. I know Robert has always wanted a big family, and he wouldn't have asked Sarah to marry him if they weren't on the same page about that. So Sarah is likely going through an enormous amount of grief at the moment. Do be kind to her, please. 4. I've also decided to reach out to Sarah and ask if the two of us can talk. I think the story spreading was really a case of telephone, but I would like to clear the air. Following that, I'm going to ask the both of them over for a chat and to discuss the situation, as I don't want this to fester. I haven't decided what I'm going to do about clearing everything up with the family, but it's not my main concern. Robert and Sarah are. I would like to thank everyone for their comments, as they were mostly all lovely and kind. The situation truly upset me, and a lot of you had very good advice, so thank you all. You made a joke about your late husband's carpentry skills, not your daughter-in-law's infertility, as you were completely unaware of their situation. That Sarah has chosen to make you a villain to everyone who will listen says more about her than it does you. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. Since you had no clue your future daughter-in-law was infertile, the comment was completely innocent. Your future daughter-in-law spreading lies about you to friends and family is definitely a jerk move. Have you tried speaking to your son about this situation? Karen demands my emerald ring. I'm 48 female, and my eldest is 22 male. He's been with his fiancée, my daughter-in-law, since they were 20, and he wants to marry her now. I'd always liked her before now. She's a smart girl, and she fits in well with our family. She's driven, and she makes my son happy. Everything was all roses until they got engaged. Now, since I was little, I've been fascinated with jewelry. When I was older and married, had my own income, I started to collect rings. I would design them myself. I used to ask friends and family to give me cash that I could put towards them and save up my disposable income towards whatever ring I wanted. Edit. Okay, apparently this is controversial, but it's always been the custom of my family to give cash during celebrations. It's also very normal in my community to ask your friends to give cash. I've done this myself for plenty of my friends. However, the majority of the cost of each piece of jewelry was always borne by me. Whatever I got from birthdays was a bonus top-up, not something I relied on to be able to afford it. It would be less than 10% of each piece, definitely not the bulk. Sorry, but a few commenters were derailed by this. I wasn't buying one every year, but over time I built a nice collection of rings. My favorite are sapphire with halo of diamonds, an emerald in a trilogy with 1-carat diamonds, either side, and one with a ruby set in it. After my son got engaged and we invited him and his daughter-in-law to have dinner at our house, daughter-in-law started to speak to me. She said she's been seeing my emerald ring over the years, and she's always wanted one herself. She pointed out that I wear this one the least often, which is true, and demanded that I gift it to her as an heirloom engagement ring. This is in addition to other wedding gifts and expenses we had discussed as a family during dinner. This includes gold to the value of approximately 6,000 pounds, which is honestly more than my entire wedding cost, and which I still think is a significant amount. This rubbed me the wrong way, and I admit I accused her of trying to pick through my estate before I'm even gone. I told her the ring is mine, and I can sell it on my deathbed if I want to. She has no right to expect it, and she's being a rude brat by demanding it. She yelled at me that something like this just can't be sold. It should be an heirloom, and it's normal for heirlooms to be passed on while the wearer is still alive. I told her to leave if she was just in my home to demand my property, and she stormed out, taking my son with her. She's mad at me, and my son says I should have just passed the ring on to her since I have others, and it would be a nice gesture to welcome her into the family. He says it's no different than his sister occasionally borrowing some of my pieces. My husband and my daughter are on my side, but this is the first time my son has shut me out like this. So, am I the jerk? Edit. Daughter-in-law already has an engagement ring. It's beautiful, and I would call it expensive. This is not a case of her being proposed to without a ring. Not the jerk. Your daughter-in-law is quite the entitled gold or emerald digger. If she wanted it to be an engagement ring, the proper thing would have been for your son to discuss it with you. Her asking for it is shocking and rude. It's not an heirloom if you're the first owner in the family. Heirlooms tend to have generations behind them, and they are not necessarily given away during the owner's lifetime. Many family mementos are distributed as part of an estate after the owner is gone. Don't loan anything to her, or you will never see it again. Well, what do you think? Should OP give the ring to her daughter-in-law or not? Please let us know. If my fiancé demanded my mom's ring, I'd drop them like a bad habit. Am I the jerk for insulting the food my wife made, despite not knowing that she made it? I'll try to keep this short. My wife and I are 46 and 47. We've been married for 19 years, and not once in our marriage has she ever cooked. I honestly never minded. She told me that she's a terrible cook, and I like to do it anyway. Yesterday, I had a long day at work, and I told my wife this. She told me she would order food in so I didn't have to cook. I come home and she sets the table. The food is neatly placed on 2 plates, which should have been my first clue that it was home cooked, and I began to dig in. The food was bland, borderline gross, and nothing to what I had tasted before. My head was already pounding. I was not in the mood for some crappy food. I just looked up from the food and told her, "This food sucks. Please don't ever order from this place again." She got really quiet and then sad. I asked her if everything was okay, and she said yes. She still seemed off the whole dinner. After dinner, I wouldn't stop bothering her, wouldn't stop asking her what's wrong, until she finally snapped and told me that she cooked the food. It wasn't ordered. She said she was sorry and she won't cook for me again, and I could see her tearing up. She went right to bed. I had to leave early the next day, so she was asleep. I asked a buddy of mine for advice, and he said I shouldn't have talked about anybody's food that way. Am I the jerk, or was this just an honest mistake? Edit for clarification. I did not mean this in a hateful way at all. My wife and I have lived in the same area our entire marriage and very often come across an absolutely terrible takeout place. It's a thing we do, saying, "Oh, this sucks." Usually the response is a laugh because we have a tally of the horrible places and we find it funny. My fault for not specifying that. Edit. And for those of you talking bad about my wife because she doesn't like to cook, you're out of line. So what if she doesn't want to cook? She doesn't like it. I do, so I do it. She can learn how to if she wants to, but she doesn't have the enthusiasm. If she really needs to, she'll learn. She can do whatever she wants because she helps doing other things that I wouldn't like to do. Comment about whatever you want, but going after her for not cooking is so pathetic. Last update. I got home yesterday with flowers and a bottle of wine. I set her down and told her the food wasn't restaurant quality, but I thought it was great for a beginner. She said she'd like to learn a little bit of basic cooking, so I'm going to teach her for whatever she wants to cook. She laughed about it a little, about how bad the food was. Thank you for all of the advice. I'm 19, female. My boyfriend, who's 22, is very excited about a party that I'm not invited to. We've been together for about 1 year, and he's amazing. We've had arguments here and there, but nothing too serious except for this one. Last week, he got invited to a college party and I wasn't, to which I don't really mind. The problem is, he was invited by one of the sorority girls who's made it clear that she has a crush on him on her social media. He plays football. She even has a highlight on her Instagram tagged "My Crush" with his pictures. My boyfriend told me there's nothing to worry about because he's only interested in me. He said she's delusional to think there could be something between them. The party is on Friday and he's been very excited about it. He already prepared what he was going to wear yesterday. He bought new shoes and designer clothes. Normally, he doesn't even care about that kind of stuff. He's always showing me the party group chat, telling me how amazing everything is planned out. As he was showing me, he got an Instagram message from this sorority girl saying, "We should try it then." He swiftly swiped it away and acted like it was nothing. When I asked him what she meant, he said that she wants to learn how to throw a football. All right. I also overheard him talking with his best friend about how amazing it's going to be. Honestly, I feel like this excited him even more than our anniversary, and it's hurting me. I asked him if I can join him too, and he told me it's an invite-only party, so I can't come with him. Well, someone else will be doing that from the sounds of it. I need advice on what to do because I feel so overwhelmed, and I'm probably not thinking straight at the moment. What should I do? Update. Hey everyone, thank you for opening my eyes. I didn't want to think the worst about my ex-boyfriend, but y'all were right. After making this post, I had a lot to think about and evaluate from the comments I received. Some were harsh to read, but I had to. I spent the next few hours crying alone in my apartment. For a very long time, I've avoided the idea of snooping through his phone, but on Thursday night, I did, and I found some very disturbing things. I went through his messages and took relevant screenshots of him talking to his sorority friend, but what I did not expect to find were the things I saw in his Discord. That's why I could not make an update earlier. He mentioned that I'm his girlfriend to her and said that he would leave me if she was up for it. He sent her flowers every Monday of the week since they started talking. Guess what? He's only bought me flowers twice in about a year. I feel so upset, and I probably need therapy to get through this. I no longer feel sad about him and the sorority girl. She can have him. Am I the jerk for ruining my sister-in-law's birthday dinner because she encouraged her kids to pull a prank? My husband and I, 38 female, went to my sister-in-law's house for her birthday. It's quite a long drive, so we drove up the day before and stayed overnight in their spare room. The birthday meal was going to be midday. She has 2 kids who are 4 and 7. Husband and I went in separate cars as we were coming from different workplaces to get there. I'm very short-sighted and literally can't see 1 foot in front of my face without my glasses. Every night I take them off and put them on the nightstand right where I know I can reach them in the morning. Now, apparently, sister-in-law thought it would be a funny prank to get her kids to sneak into my room. I sleep with earplugs in because husband is a loud snorer, and take and hide my glasses. On the morning of her birthday, I couldn't find my glasses on the nightstand. I had to ask my husband to help in case they had fallen off and under the bed or something, but we couldn't find them anywhere. I was really distraught because, as I said, I'm literally almost non-functional without them. Husband helped me down to breakfast, and I explained that I wouldn't be able to take part in the meal today at a nearby restaurant, and I couldn't drive myself home. I was really upset. They're also expensive glasses because I have to get the lens thinned, etc. So about 600 pounds. Sister-in-law let this go on until they were all ready to leave for her birthday lunch. I had not been able to do much all day up to this point because I couldn't see. Then she jokingly said to her kids, "Okay, that's enough, I think. Go get them." And the kids ran off to fetch my glasses from where they had hidden them. She said not to blame them at all. I don't. And it was her idea and just a bit of harmless fun. I put my glasses on, got in my car, said nothing at all, and just drove home. My husband is on my side and has apologized in sister-in-law's behalf, saying that she thought I would see the funny side. He's very apologetic and offered to skip her birthday meal as well and come home. But he's the one being apologetic, not her. I've had nothing from sister-in-law except an angry WhatsApp message to the group. Not directly to me, but to the family group, saying that her birthday had been ruined because someone couldn't take a joke. Apparently, after I left, she had a meltdown about how the day was ruined because I drove off and the kids are upset. It's genuinely distressing for me to not be able to see, but I see how she might have been able to think it was funny to get her kids to do this. Am I the jerk? Edit. I feel bad that the kids think that they're the reason I was upset or what they did was wrong. Extra edit to say this is the main reason I feel like the jerk for this. My reaction of just walking out didn't give the kids any explanation, so they think they did something wrong. Which they did, to be fair, but with encouragement. Not the jerk. I don't see how this prank is supposed to be funny, but maybe if she let this go on for 10 minutes, some would see the humor in it. But to let it go on for seemingly hours is ridiculous. And then to top it off, she didn't even apologize. It also seems strange to get the kids involved. If it was their idea, it would be one thing, but she recruited them to play a prank that wasn't even funny. This is a case of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. OP. She still seems to feel it was amusing for me to stumble around all morning, also in a panic. And yes, you're correct, it was for hours. We got up at 8 a.m., lunch was scheduled for 2 p.m. I stumbled around trying to find my glasses for about 5 hours before she told the kids to go get them. OP, are you sure your husband wasn't in on the prank? I mean, it was pretty obvious someone stole your glasses when they were not quickly found in the room where you left them. My husband would have torn sister-in-law's house apart looking for my glasses rather than letting me sit there blind and incapacitated for 6 hours. Maybe that has something to do with why he is apologizing and not her. My best friend's wife lied to him, claiming that she had an affair with me. The last 4 days have been the most horrible part of my life. I have no idea how to deal with anything, and I wanted to get opinions on what I should do next, since I see posts like this on Reddit often. My best friend's wife told him that she had an affair with me, which never even happened. I, 35 male, have been married to my wife, 35 female, for 8 years. We have 2 wonderful kids, but this is about my friend Josh, 35 male, and his wife, Mary, who's 34. I met Josh during my freshman year of college, and we've been friends ever since then. We've also shared our love for tech, and he's always my go-to guy when I need someone to talk to. Josh started dating Mary 5 years ago. Let's say Mary has a very different set of morals than my wife or me. She's very loud, manipulative, and just craves attention. Josh and Mary had been dating on and off for 4 years. They broke up often, but somehow always ended up back together after a few months. Mary is always the one who breaks up with Josh and then takes him back. I also know that Mary cheated on Josh at least with 2 guys when they were dating, but somehow convinced him that he was not putting enough effort into the relationship. Josh always blames himself for Mary not being happy. My wife also knows about all of this and has always kept her distance from Mary. However, we do meet her often during parties with friends. Josh and Mary got married last year. Last month, Josh found out that Mary was cheating on him again and had an affair with one of her coworkers. Josh was completely heartbroken and stayed at our place for a week before going back and confronting Mary and kicking her out of the house. Josh bought the house before marriage, and hence he had to get the cops involved to kick her out. From what we know, Mary moved back to her parents' house. I've been helping Josh through the process, and he filed for divorce last week. Now last Saturday, Mary came to Josh's house to collect her stuff along with her dad. I had advised Josh to get out of the house when they came over, but he wanted to make sure she didn't take anything that did not belong to her. During her visit, Josh got into a fight with Mary, and Mary told Josh that she had an affair with me while they were married, and we used to do this at their house. This is all 100% false. I've always known that Mary was trouble and kept my distance from her. I feel she's just trying to hurt Josh by saying that. After that incident, Josh got extremely agitated and came to my house. I saw he was distant, and I knew something was wrong. As I opened the door, he started going off on me and accusing me of hooking up with Mary. Luckily, the kids weren't at home, but my wife and I were there, and we were both shocked by what he was saying. He tried to punch me, but luckily he got my shoulder, and I was able to wrestle him to the ground and calm him down. I kept on telling him that what Mary told him was completely false, and that I had never spent a single minute with her alone in my life. My wife threatened to call the cops, and he left. After he left, my wife was completely inconsolable. It took me hours to calm her down and convince her that Mary was manipulating Josh. I work from home and rarely leave my house without my wife or kids. I think she believes me, but she's been different for the past 4 days. Josh told a lot of my close friends that I was having an affair with Mary. He's not taking my calls or my wife's calls. My wife tried to call Mary, but she was also not taking our calls. All my friends, including Josh, think that I'm the biggest jerk for getting involved with his wife. I have no idea how to convince anyone that is false. I'm just so frustrated. Can someone please give me advice on what to do next? Update. After posting my story, my wife and I spent a few hours at night reading through the comments. We immediately decided to explore whether we could sue Mary for defamation. Some of you suggested that I should take a polygraph test. I asked my wife if we should find a place, and she smiled. She said she does not doubt me one bit, but we can't let people have any doubt that I had an affair with Mary. Our kids are friends with their kids, and we can't live with them thinking I had an affair with Mary. She just wanted us to be strong and solve the issue as soon as possible. In the morning, we messaged my wife's mother's friend, who is a very experienced attorney. We called her based on the time she gave us in the morning and explained the issue. She said that we should pursue the legal route, but she does not handle such cases and gave us the contact of another attorney in her firm and set up a meeting with her at noon. We went to visit her and discuss the issue. The lawyer told us that we could sue Mary as she has made false accusations, and there is a precedent of considering what she said as slander, as it attacked my character, and we can prove emotional distress. However, she told us that a defamation lawsuit is a very long and expensive process and may take several years. She told us that Mary has a weak hand and she will not want to go to court. Hence, we should give her a way out by telling her to give in writing that what she said was false. Moreover, as she said the false statement to Josh, we would need Josh to state what she said. However, we came up with a plan for sending her a letter of intent to sue for defamation. The attorney worked on this, and we got notified that Mary received the letter on Friday morning at her parents' house. The letter said that we would sue her by the end of the month if she did not provide an official statement in writing that the statements she had made were false. The letter also told Mary to only communicate via the law firm regarding this matter. As planned, I messaged Josh and I told him we had decided to sue Mary for defamation due to the false statement she made about the affair. We would leave no stone unturned to prove that the allegations are false. Our lawyer will contact you next week, and we hope you cooperate with them and tell them exactly what she said to you. On Saturday morning, as I was cooking breakfast and my wife was sitting with our kids, the doorbell rang. I saw the Ring camera that Josh and Mary were standing outside the door. Before I could tell my wife to stay back and not open the door, she bolted towards the door. She opened it and started yelling at Josh. She's 5'0" tall, but she is scary when she gets angry. She just started calling him names, and how can he destroy our lives when we supported him at his lowest? Josh kept saying he just wanted to talk to me and kept repeating that. He looked down. My wife just kept on yelling at him and telling him to get lost. Mary started talking then, saying she was very sorry for what she had said. Josh was mistreating her, and she just said that to hurt him. She just kept on saying that Josh is such an idiot and has created such a big mess. My wife turned to her and told her that she better find a good lawyer to reply to our letters. At last, she told Josh that if he wanted to meet me, go and first make things right for me and then slam the door. I was watching all of this from the breakfast table through my Ring camera, and I realized that we recorded the whole conversation, including Mary confessing her lies. I felt so relieved in the moment, knowing that I had proof of her telling the truth. We forwarded the video to our lawyer, and she sent a thumbs up and called us briefly to say that we should meet on Monday to discuss the next steps. After an hour or so, Josh messaged our friends group that he did a terrible thing and spread false statements about me. He's ashamed of it and wants to apologize for it. Moments later, Mary messaged saying that some statements she made were misconstrued by Josh and that what he told everyone was false. Their relationship is going through rocking times, and they would thank everybody for giving them privacy and to pray for them. The rest of the day has been great. I've been taking my kids to their Saturday activities and playing with them, while my wife was talking on the phone with all of my friends' wives and her friends gossiping about what happened. The only thing I told her was to not send the Ring video of Josh and me from last week and not to mention Mary's affair to them. I still think it's a private matter that Josh told us in confidence, and we should respect that. Everyone was shocked that Josh had attacked me physically. Regarding my friends, I made a blanket statement that they all hate me in the last post, but in reality, 4 of my friends called me during this week to ask me what was going on. They told me they know how crazy Mary was and asked me how they could help support me. One of the friends was the one that Josh had called. He told me that Josh told him that Mary had an affair with me and he had filed for divorce. He conveniently left out the part about her cheating with her coworker. I don't think anyone apart from my wife and I know the whole story. He knows at least 2 of the other friends Josh called and said the same. Due to this, the gossip started spreading that they were divorcing because of me, and most of my friends were just waiting on the sidelines instead of extending support to me. However, I think I learned who my true friends are. And as for Josh, we still plan to file for TRO against him and Mary next week. The lawyer said we should be able to get it for Josh as there is clear evidence of danger, but Mary, it might be a long shot. We will see what we can do from here. As for our friendship, it's done. It ended the minute he decided to attack me, instead of at least asking me if it was true. I can't have people like him around my family. He was a great friend, but my family and their safety have a way higher priority than him. As for Mary, I guess she wins. My wife still wants to push to get her to pay our legal fees. We'll see what we can do on Monday. However, she was able to destroy Josh's support system with one lie. I was helping Josh through the whole divorce process, but he's on his own now. I also don't think many of my friends would be kind to him after the crap he tried to do at my house. I feel bad for him, and I know he needs support and professional help. However, I did my part, and I hope he understands what's right for him in the future. I'd be sending that footage of him attacking you to all of your friends. They all deserve to know that this guy's unhinged and not safe to be around. What's gonna happen next time she lies to him about hooking up with one of his friends? Am I the jerk for canceling my family trip on short notice? I, 32 female, moved away from my home state about 5 years ago. In June of this year, my husband, who's 33, and I welcomed a baby boy. He's the first and only grandchild on my side. My husband and I decided to fly back to my home state to spend Christmas with my family. My parents were excited and assured us they would get the house baby ready. My parents live in a 4-bedroom house. My parents have the master bedroom, and the other 3 rooms belong to my sisters and me. But now that my folks are empty nesters, the rooms are unused except for occasional visits. They kept my sister's rooms relatively the same, but they turned my old room into my dad's office. I was a little sad, but it's not my home anymore, and I don't get to dictate how other people utilize their house. But in my 11 by 8 foot childhood room, there is now a queen-size bunk bed, dresser, desk, chair, and side table. That alone makes it cramped. But since my dad is very disorganized, there's usually also paperwork on every surface, including the top bunk bed, and random crap from the house. It's basically a storage closet with a bed. It's so cluttered that the floor isn't even visible most of the time. 2 weeks ago, I asked if we could not stay in my old room. My parents didn't even entertain it. They said that's where I've always stayed when I visited, and I've never had an issue with it. I've always taken an issue with it. I just never said anything. I explained that there's no room for 2 adults and a pack and play in there, but my mom just said that they would make it work. The next day, my mom sent me a picture of my room with a pack and play in it. The bed took up the last bit of space. I showed it to my husband, and we agreed that would not work for us. I let my parents know that we would figure something else out. But after looking into local hotels, we decided to cancel the trip altogether. My parents live in a very touristy place, and getting a hotel for a week on short notice was more than we could afford. I broke the news to my parents, and they were not happy about it. They said I was overreacting, and the room would be fine. I told them we would miss them, but we couldn't afford a hotel, and in order for the room to be usable, the floor would have to at least be visible. They asked if that meant we would never be visiting, and I said, I don't know if we will ever visit, but I do know that we would never stay in that room as long as it's in that condition. And if it got decluttered, or you could allow us to stay in a different room, or if we saved up for a hotel, then we could visit. Now my entire family is mad at me. My parents told the extended family we were coming, and now they have to tell them that we're not. They're also sad they won't get to see their grandson like they planned. My sisters are also calling me entitled for being picky about a free place to stay and expecting one of them to take the crappy room. Am I the jerk? Are your sisters staying with your family? Do they have kids? OP. Both sisters are single, but they are very protective over their space. My parents know that they would be upset if their childhood rooms changed too much. So apart from my parents taking down some posters and adding more neutral art, their rooms are pretty much the same. I'm more easygoing, and they know that I wouldn't pitch a fit if they turned my room into an office. How old are your sisters? Why are they so territorial over their old high school rooms? OP. My sisters are 35 and 26. They both have a tendency to think that I'm the favorite, so changing either of their rooms into an office and leaving mine untouched probably would have started an argument. They're also very particular. They like their spaces to be a certain way and don't like people touching their stuff, so maybe they would have felt like their old room being completely changed would be an invasion of their privacy. Can you stay with extended family if they're being weird about this too? OP. Extended family all lives about an hour away. We're all gathering at my grandparents' house on Christmas, so that's when the rest of the family would have met them. The rest of the families have full houses. All my cousins either still live at home or are visiting home for the holidays. I'm sure some of my cousins wouldn't mind sharing a room in their home, so I could take one of their rooms. But I don't think it's reasonable to expect someone to host a family of 3 on short notice by relocating one of my cousins in their own home. Can you just move stuff when you get there? OP. I mean, we technically could, but I honestly don't want to show up at their house after a full day of traveling with an infant just to rearrange furniture. Personally, I believe that if you really want a baby to come visit your home, then you need to make that home baby-friendly before they arrive. Update. I called my parents and let them know that we love them and we really want to be there for Christmas. Being so far away from my family during my entire pregnancy was really difficult, and I had been looking forward to this trip for a long time. I explained again that I know it's not my room anymore, but if they want us to travel across the country with an infant to visit, then they need to make at least a small attempt to make the home baby friendly. Our baby can't crawl yet, so they wouldn't even need a baby proof. All we asked for was a reasonable space for the baby and us to sleep in. They cut in, saying they have a room for us, but we decided it wasn't good enough. I asked them if they would feel comfortable with me sending pictures of the room to our extended family as an explanation for our absence. They said no, because it's inappropriate to air out our business. We ended the call by saying all we need is for them to clear out some floor space to make the room more livable. The next day, I got a picture from my mom of the room. They tidied it up. It was still a bit cramped, but it was usable. From the room, they removed an old TV, a swamp cooler, a big stack of paperwork from the floor, a broken printer, a broken clock, and all kinds of other junk that they shouldn't have had in there in the first place. All of these things were previously either on the top bed bunk or on the floor. With all this junk removed, it was actually possible to walk into the room. I thanked my mom, and I told her that since we had not officially canceled our flight tickets, we would love to still attend Christmas. My parents are not used to being called out, so whenever it does happen, usually by me, they get defensive, but then they later change their attitude and act better. The lack of an apology didn't really bother me since they adjusted their behavior. They never addressed the room situation, but they cleaned it up and went above and beyond during our visit to make us feel welcome. I guess they just needed some time to think about it. The trip itself was great. The closet and dresser drawers were still crammed with junk, but that didn't matter since we were just living out of our suitcases during our trip. My extended family got to meet my son. There hasn't been a baby in my side of the family for 20 years, so my son got lots of love and attention. He also had the chance to play in the sand and put his toes in the water of the beaches that I grew up in. I found out that my son has been stealing and selling my Pokemon cards. A little context. He's been picking and choosing through my binders and selling them to friends at school. So far, from what I found missing, it's a lot. I had a long talk with our son this morning when I got home from work. He's apparently been panicking ever since I caught him. I decided to ask him if he understood why his actions made me so livid. He just said because he stole from us, they were expensive, etc. I said yes, those are reasons, but it's more than that. I pulled out my other binders, some that I had migrated to new binders, etc. I showed him several cards. I explained that these aren't just something for me to collect when I was growing up. They were memories, had sentimental value, which is more than money can buy. I explained how I collected them with my mom before she passed away, how some of these cards were gifted from friends, some that are still around and some that aren't. I explained that these cherished memories I had have been tainted by his actions. I think he started to understand. He started tearing up a bit and just quiet. I asked him why he did what he did. He supposedly was selling them to get snacks at school. I'm not sure I believe that, but I explained to him that we can buy him the snacks he spent money on so he wouldn't have to do that. He's always had a food problem, sneaking from the pantry and fridge. He cried a little and was trying to hold back. I told him he can fix this mistake. Yeah, I called it a mistake because he didn't understand this was more than what it appeared to be. I told him he has until Friday to get every single card back. Additionally, if he's stolen and sold anything else, that he needs to get that back as well. I'm emailing his principal and teachers as well and informing them of the situation. He's grounded, but I did tell him fixing the situation will make things better, faster. He agreed to everything and is determined to get everything back. He still says it was only 3 cards he stole and sold, the Pikachu, a Mew, and a Mewtwo. Wasn't sure what sets, but he described them. Sounds like a legendary collection, expedition, and maybe another one, not entirely sure. I'm going through and seeing what's missing. So far, everything up to the second Neo set is accounted for. Still a lot to go, and I work long night shifts, so I'll be done later on. A little background. He's 16. We adopted him when he was 8, almost 9. He's had a bad upbringing, going through his biological parents in foster care. He learned a lot of his behaviors through his time before being adopted. He went through 2 failed adoptions before us, so yes, he learned to steal, lie, and do what he needed to in order to survive. I'm not saying that makes what he did okay by any means. We've been guiding him for years. He's come a long way, and he's still got a long ways to go. We did therapy when we first adopted him, and we're planning on now getting him evaluated and getting back into therapy now that he's older and somewhat more mature. He's a pain, but I do love him, and I want him to succeed. I just hope we can guide him further and help him realize the impact he has, as well as his actions. Update. So it's been a few weeks. As I stated in the last update on this post, I discussed with my son the sentimental value of everything. He's been doing much better since then and is even slowly getting his grades up. Some good news is that some of the cards have returned. The reverse holo Pikachu from the Legendary Collection returned, as well as the Mewtwo. He still claims he didn't sell nearly as many as the 2 solid pages that would suggest. He's agreed that if he can't get the missing cards back, he's going to pay for them when he starts working in the summer, which is fine. We all agreed that's fair. Not gonna lie, I'm still pretty sure there's more missing. He admitted to pulling a bunch out of binders and sleeves and misplacing them back when he was looking for things to sell. I'm still going through and cataloging everything I have. I've got a list going of cards I know are missing from him selling them. He's going to try to get the cards back. I'm not gonna lie, it sucks, but at the same time, I'm looking on the bright side of this whole thing. All of my cards hold sentimental value, and I'll never lose that, or the memory of it. The cards he replaces will still hold sentimental value for me, but it'll be new memories between him and myself. I told him about a Mewtwo I received years ago while trading with an old friend on Reddit, and how awesome it was, because that was one of my first interactions on Reddit, and I love the fact he remembered Mewtwo being my favorite. I told my son, every single thing holds some special value to me, no matter who it comes from or what it is. A thing, a memory, a moment. When I told my son about that, I think that's something else that he took to heart as well. Glad you're getting some cards back. Personally, I'd be putting my cards, or at least the valuable ones, in a safe somewhere for the foreseeable future. Sure, it sounds like he's turned over a new leaf, which is great to hear, but he could also be just trying to appease you to get you off his back before he does it again. Only time will tell. OP. Yeah, I'm planning on maybe storing them in a fireproof and weatherproof safe, which sucks because I wanted to put them on my bookshelves along with my library and nerd stuff. But I don't want to risk more disappearing, though I do have cameras in our office now just in case. And yeah, I'm a little skeptical about if he's going to do better, but I'm going to hold out hope. We did have a talk with the local police, him, my wife, and I, about consequences of his actions, and I'm thinking that helped him see that he shouldn't be doing this. We'll see, but I'm hopeful. I love to see good parenting in play. OP does a good job on dealing with the situation, and good to see the son accepting the consequences and doing his best to make things right. Hopefully, all the other cards are able to be found soon, and OP's son never does this again. Am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend that she went too far in messing with her sister? My girlfriend is low contact with her parents and older sister. She has a difficult relationship with them. She felt bullied by her sister, Cora, who's 31, while they were growing up. Her mother was frequently ill and depressed, and her father traveled for work for months at a time. They were kinda poor, so Cora did multiple jobs since her teens, and was controlling and domineering with her siblings about chores and schoolwork. My girlfriend has a lot of resentment about her unpleasant childhood and is pushed back by sabotaging things for Cora in silly and petty ways. Cora got married to her boyfriend of 3 years about 6 months ago. My girlfriend flew over to attend, but did act bratty to mess with Cora. It was mostly minor stuff, like not confirming travel plans till last minute, so Cora was forced to pay more for plane tickets, changing her mind about her dress frequently, so Cora had to buy and return outfits multiple times. There were a few other things too, like messing with some organization plans and refusing to do things she committed to. I don't really like it or understand it, but she feels it's important for such payback to bring a balance to her relationship with her sister. Where I feel she went too far is that the night before the wedding, she had a long talk with the groom about how difficult and short-tempered Cora can be. He has a kid who's 6 from his previous marriage, and she knew that they were planning on having more kids right after they got married. She told him that Cora can't stand kids and she will bully them. The newlyweds ended up having a lot of fights over their honeymoon because the groom wanted to postpone having kids and change how much involvement Cora would have with her stepkid. Cora found out recently that the conflicts are because her sister had this talk with her husband and she's been blowing up at my girlfriend. She feels upset at my girlfriend's interference because she wanted to have kids soon, and my girlfriend feels justified because she's convinced Cora would be an awful mother. I told her that it wasn't right for her to meddle in her sister's marriage just to mess with her, but she feels that nothing she said is untrue, so she was morally right to do so. We've been having arguments about this, and my girlfriend is now mad at me. I've been asked multiple times, so Cora is the oldest. Their parents had separated after she was born, then got back together a few years later and had 3 more kids, one after another. My girlfriend is the second oldest. The youngest two are close to both my girlfriend and Cora and ignore the conflict between the two. Cora did different short-term jobs for extra money before she got her full-time job. She didn't do 2+ jobs at the same time. Update. My girlfriend, Sia, and I had a lot of arguments about her behavior. She got angry and broke up with me. I'm still stuck with her for a bit because we share an apartment with 2 other roommates and my lease ends in a few weeks. Sia and her siblings have been arguing a lot about this, and here's what I gathered from what I've been told and from overhearing the daily drama. Sia has been doing this since they were little. Whenever she feels Cora is being too bossy and demanding, she'll sabotage her by messing up things. Cora has no idea. She thinks Sia is clumsy or forgetful and just works harder to fix things. She doesn't realize that Sia does it on purpose. Their younger siblings know, but they just ignore it. Sia has talked about Cora behind her back a few times in the past, that she has anger problems and is mean. According to Sia, everyone knows she's short-tempered and yells a lot, but people like her because she helps them and is a fixer. I heard Cora tell her that she knows Sia talks about her like this and has accepted that, but still didn't think that she'd do it at her wedding. What Cora is really shocked about, though, is that Sia called her a bad mother and said that she doesn't like kids. Cora sees herself as a good mother figure, and she did not see this coming from her sister. All the siblings rely on Cora as the parental figure instead of their actual parents. So Cora has helped her siblings with school, college, and just about every facet of learning to adult things. Her siblings still call her first for help with anything. Even Sia does that. A couple months ago, she totaled her car and panicked and called Cora first. Cora walked her through everything and helped her deal with insurance. Sia is still adamant that she did the right thing. When she talked to her brother-in-law, he was surprised to hear that Cora was short-tempered or that she yells. He hadn't seen that side of her yet. Sia thinks her telling him that means now he won't be shocked when he sees the real her, and there'll be a stronger marriage. Cora and her husband have since fixed their issues and are doing well together again. Sia feels like her actions have actually helped Cora, and so she has nothing to complain about. I think it's more likely that brother-in-law witnessed these sibling arguments and realized how things are. Cora hosts Thanksgiving for the entire family and also organizes a family vacation every year. In her arguments, she angrily told Sia not to come to these events this year. She doesn't want her there. Sia complained to their mom, and mom went off on Cora for trying to break up the family. Cora blew up and is not going to do Thanksgiving at all. That offended a lot of people, and everyone's giving her a hard time for overreacting. Sia is sure she'll get over it and host again. I'll be moving out soon and probably won't have any more insights into this family drama. Am I the jerk for eating before my date arrived to the restaurant? So for context, I'm not a foodie. I eat to get full and not as an experience. I'll often eat at home before dinner outings just because I don't want to wait and rather enjoy the experience of the outing, which for me doesn't involve the eating portion. I met this girl online and we agreed on meeting at a restaurant for dinner to get to know each other more. Fast forward to the day of our date, we agreed to meet at 9 p.m. Now my day was super busy with work and I didn't get to eat lunch, and it's almost 8 p.m. and I'm starving, so I get ready and head to the date still having no food. I like getting to a date early so I can check out the environment, pick the best seats, and just prepare in general, so I arrived about 45 minutes early. Still starving, I decided I should eat to get that out of the way, or I'll be hungry and cranky, having to wait another hour or so before I can eat. I finished my meal and ordered a cocktail. By this point, my date is almost arriving. She gets to the restaurant and we instantly click. She's smiling and we're having a great conversation. She's touching my hand. It's overall going extremely well. Eventually, she asks if I would like to order some food, to which I respond, "No thank you, I'm not hungry." And she insists, saying she doesn't want to eat alone, but I tell her don't worry, go ahead and eat, because I'm enjoying my cocktail. So we call the waiter over and she starts asking him for recommendations, to which he responds with no ill intentions that it seemed I really enjoyed the tacos, so maybe she should try them. At this point, she's confused and asked what does he mean, so I told her that I ate some tacos before she arrived. She immediately becomes furious, saying I'm rude and who eats before their date arrives. I explained to her that my goal was to get to know her and the eating portion wasn't important. Regardless, the whole mood changed. She ordered some food, ate, and made an excuse to leave. I haven't heard from her since. So, am I the jerk? You're the jerk. How awkward for her. You wanted to arrive 45 minutes early to check the vibe, but didn't consider how awkward and uncomfortable she'd feel eating alone while you watched her? You could have had a snack at your house, then got there 30 minutes early if it was really that important. Makes me think it wasn't really to check the place out, but instead so you could eat ASAP because you were hungry. And the waiter definitely called you out on purpose because that was rude. The waiter is MVP for saving her from the walking red salsa flags that is OP. Because if waiter hadn't said something, she would have been wasting more time, maybe years, putting up with OP's lying by omission and flip-flopping antics. You're the jerk. You could have munched on a small entree or dinner roll before your date arrived. It's just uncomfortable for someone to eat alone while someone else just sits there, especially when you've just met. New Karen neighbor demands to use my Wi-Fi. I, 24 female, share a house with 2 others of similar ages. We all work as freelance creatives and don't earn loads. Our next-door neighbor, Anna, name's changed obviously, moved in a few months ago. She has 2 kids who are 8 and 10, and she's a single mom. I was raised by a single mom, and so obviously wanted to make sure she was okay. I said if she needed a hand settling in, just let me know. A week later, she knocked on my door asking to use the Wi-Fi for her kids, saying that she was having trouble getting the electrician in. Totally fine. A couple weeks pass, and we get a knock on the door, and a kid, her kid, is standing there with a mobile asking for the password. I give it to him as I'm not really going to say no to a kid. A month or so passes, and we're having a few issues with the Wi-Fi. Nothing major, just buffering and stop and starts on Zoom calls. But I work from home sometimes, so need fast Wi-Fi. I texted Anna asking if she had gotten an electrician in. I know she hasn't, as I can see she's connected, but as a gentle nudge. There are now 7 additional devices on our Wi-Fi at this point. She says she's still having issues getting an electrician in. Fine, whatever. It's around the holidays, I get it. Fast forward to now. It's been nearly 3 months and no sign of an electrician. All her devices are currently using our Wi-Fi and we're still having issues with speed. We could upgrade it to be faster, but it's about $20 more a month. My roommate says just to cut her off and not say anything, but I feel bad doing that to a single mom. She also has not attempted any kind of contact or friendship with us besides asking for the Wi-Fi, or ask to extend using it or offer to chip in for it. We have been friendly, giving her a gift for Christmas and offered to babysit should she need it. 5+ years experience doing this. Would I be the jerk for just cutting it off and claiming that we are having issues with it? Not the jerk. Just be honest with her that it's impacting your work and only you and your roommates can be on it. Also, you don't need an electrician to get Wi-Fi, unless you don't have power at all. Saying she needs an electrician for Wi-Fi doesn't even make sense. Imagine your mother-in-law demands you stop using ChatGPT around her because she thinks it's evil. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap, come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.